Good evening, Canes fans. It's the Caneswear TV podcast today. Welcome to the show. Tonight is Tuesday night. Excited to be here. Had a great day in the store with the Caneswear TV team. An awesome day. Took some good videos. Had a nice lunch. Just a phenomenal day. And lots of exciting things happening today. And I'm excited. I've got my Brandon Bills cap on. My new Brandon Bills cap on. Awesome new cap. I love it. Fits perfect. I'm not always the hat person, but I am wearing it for your pleasure. And the black Coliseum polo that has the all-over print. So a great day to be a Canes fan. Like every day, it's July 21st. 1 month from my birthday, Gio. 1 month from my birthday, and 1 month actually from the opening of the first store in the Shops at Arrowhead, which was 12 years ago, which was 4 years after the warehouse. As I ramble and babble and all that good stuff, I'm looking at Gio's fantastic background. He's looking very sharp. He's got his new Brandon Bills hat on. It's Brandon Bills Day here at Caneswear. And so remember, like and subscribe. We love the fact we're getting so much attention. Like and subscribe. A lot been going on, so we're going to get to it all. And remember, we're sponsored right now by Caneswear, the spot Miami fan shop, where you can get the Brandon Bills, the Coliseum, the Adidas, and some people have even been calling about some backpack that there's some rumors we're getting too. That has been interesting. So without any further ado, the man, the myth, the one, the only, Gio, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brett. Thank you for the introduction. And yes, today was very eventful at Caneswear. Discussed a lot of things, just a whole bunch of things in mind in terms of camp coming up. Guys, one of the dates I've heard, it's not confirmed yet, but between August 3rd, August 4th, you're likely looking at the first day of fall camp for your 2026 Miami Hurricanes. So it's right around the corner. The other thing I'll mention, big basketball commit today for Miami as well. They got a big-time commit, and Jay Lucas is continuing on with what he has built here. Really exciting what the basketball team could bring to the table this upcoming season, but we're all in on football right now. Basketball doesn't kick off really until we get closer to November, late October, but football-wise, everything is heating up. ACC kickoff finished last week. Still plenty of storylines to talk about coming out of that. Bryce Fitzgerald released a really interesting video this evening that I'm going to discuss tomorrow, actually. I want to do a segment on that, just kind of what he discussed. I know there's something interesting he said. Don't want to discuss that in detail tonight, but has to do with the positioning of the defensive backfield and whatnot, which could come as a surprise to some people. But it is a position he played a bit last year, so we'll see how that figures out. But mostly, I think the biggest headline out of everything that came out of ACC kickoff in this past week, and we discussed it even a little more today, was Malachi Toney not being on the ACC preseason player of the year ballot. Now, I know it was a digital ballot. You know, I spoke with someone who was there, Alex Dano, and I spoke with a second person who was also there, and both confirmed that there was no option for a write-in on the ballot. So this was on the ACC's end. They gave the choices, whatever. This is who you voted for and whatnot. To me, they got it all wrong. Okay? He was your newcomer of the year for the ACC last year. You're basically your rookie of the year. Your best first-year player in your conference last year. Miami went all the way to the national championship. He's one of the biggest faces of the Hurricanes. And yes, do I think they got it right that Darian Mensah is on that preseason player of the year ballot? Absolutely. But you can't tell me why is a team like Clemson getting two players on that ballot and Miami only has one in Darian Mensah. No mention of a Mark Fletcher in there. No mention of a Malachi Toney. I know it's difficult to have three guys on there. Okay, fine. But you're giving Clemson two guys on the ballot? Are we serious here right now? ACC, Atlantic Coast Conference. What's going on here? What is the deal? Why is Malachi Toney on there? I don't get it. I don't understand it. Maybe it's the ACC taking the stance of, oh, well, you know, they brought in Cooper Barcade and you know, that was Mensah's favorite target or whatever. I don't think that means anything. If anything, if I look at the skill set that Darian Mensah has, he is the best and most efficient deep ball quarterback returning to the Power Four this upcoming season. It is proven in the facts, the statistics. You look it up. I'm not talking crazy here. Miami's going to push the ball down the field with Darian Mensah. So I know a lot of the offense last year predicated on Malachi Toney getting a lot of bubble screens, a lot of the quick game. And yes, there was some deep shots to him, some intermediate stuff, but a lot of his work came through that quick game where he had the most yards after contact of any receiver in the country and forced the most missed tackles of any receiver in the country. How is a guy who caught 109 passes last year, had like 1,300 receiving yards, over 1,700 all-purpose yards between passing, returning punts, running with the ball, catching, everything that he did in its entirety. How is he not on your preseason player of the year ballot? That I will never get. I will never understand. Yes, I love it that they put Mensah on there, but for me finishing this rant, I think Malachi Toney's job becomes easier in year 2 because of the quarterback he has. So what do I mean by that? Being more efficient? We're going to see more of Malachi Toney working that intermediate and downfield game. The quick game's not going to go out the window, but we're going to see more of that from Malachi Toney this year because of what Darian Mensah can do. I also think Cooper Barkate makes Malachi Toney's job even easier now. Now, I don't think you have to funnel a lot of your passing game through Malachi Toney because Darian Mensah is the type of quarterback that can distribute the ball very well between several different receivers within a game. So I think Cooper Barkate makes Malachi Toney's job even easier. I think he can be much more efficient. I think, you ask me, in my opinion, I think Malachi Toney can still eclipse 1,000 yards this year, despite having Cooper Barkate on this team, joining him, despite having Joshua Moore, Vandrevius Jacobs, Cam Vaughn, Dalen Upshaw, all those guys that are going to figure to be heavily in the mix. Despite all that, I think Malachi could definitely still go for over 1,000 yards. And I think, as a matter of fact, his yard per catch average can go up because of the type of quarterback that Darian Mensah is. So I think we're going to see a better and more efficient Malachi Toney this year. So not necessarily does he need to catch over 100 balls this year. He doesn't need over 100 receptions to still be great. I think he could have maybe 20, 30 less of those, which would be around the range of what Xavier Restrepo had 2 years ago. He's still eclipsed over 1,000 yards. So I still think Malachi Toney's going to have an incredible year. You know what? The ACC got it all wrong. But here's the beauty of this, Brett. Even though they got it wrong now, it doesn't exclude him from winning that later on. Like if he has a phenomenal season, it doesn't exclude him from winning the award at the end of the year. But shame on you, ACC. There was no reason for that. And there's no reason why you have 2 players from Clemson on that list over Miami, where you had 3 legitimate candidates in Darian Mensah, Mark Fletcher, and Malachi Toney. I get it. You can't put all 3, but at least 2 of those 3 should have been on there.
You know, Gio, obviously great points there. Why was Malachi Toney not picked? But you know what? I'm going to take the other way, and I'm going to say it's okay that he wasn't picked, because you know what? You don't win championships by getting picked for preseason awards. Either the best team in the country, number 1 ranked in the country, or if you want ACC Player of the Year. In the grand scheme of things, it means absolutely nothing. Malachi Toney's got plenty of attention. He's on the game. He is so much else going on. Let him and the team be hungrier. All right, so they picked Mensah. They didn't pick Malachi Toney. Mark Fletcher, like you said, the way he dominated the playoffs, had the greatest playoff run ever, he wasn't picked either. All these guys can have a little extra chip on their shoulder. We want that. So as a fan, while we always like accolades, public accolades for our players, we don't need them, because what happens is how we do on the field. Yes, I agree. Malachi Toney is going to have a phenomenal year. If you look at, because Cooper Barkate, we know, has been the favorite target of Darian Mensah, and they have an unbelievable connection. Okay, and Joshua Moore is, as the third guy, is obviously going to be special that people don't even know what to expect. I think he's going to flash every game as a guy that can go and get the ball. So right now, I think I'm okay with it. I'm sure Malachi is okay with it. I don't think Malachi needs to be announced as a. You don't need that target all the time on your back. He's got the Canes having enough. So right now, let's let it be. If we're going to be upset about Malachi Toney not being ACC Player of the Year in the beginning of the season, you know what? We're not looking at the big picture. The big picture for everybody that's wearing orange and green, is to win the national championship, to win the ACC and to win the national championship. The awards will come, because you're right. Just because you're off the preseason list doesn't mean you won't win it at the end of the year. So I'm not too worried about it. Let's play it on the field. Let's get this season started. September 4th is right around the corner. Couldn't be any more excited. The amount of targets that Darian Mensah has this season, in addition to the amount of athletes that Malachi Toney has to share the field with now, it has never been bigger. So I'm excited to be a Canes fan. I'm excited for the Canes, and I think every single person out there in Canes land is feeling the same way.
Well, I do agree with most of what you said, but I got to put on the campaign for Malachi Toney. I'm sure others are doing it as well, but it just doesn't make sense to me, Brett. Like, when I try to wrap my head around it, I thought about it when it first came out. I saw the list of players, and I thought, damn, Miami, who was the ACC's bread and butter last year, still not getting the respect that they deserve. Now, granted, he was a preseason first-team all-selection for the ACC, both as a receiver and an all-purpose guy as well. So I'll give them credit in that aspect, but I just didn't get it. I didn't understand it. It's a snub anyway, which way you put it. But I do agree with you that all that matters at the end of the day, yes, preseason stuff is great, but the only thing that matters is the W's over the L's within that record column, and then just production, baby. That's it. And I think this Miami offense is going to be very explosive. As a matter of fact, Darian Mensah, over 80 of his passing attempts last year were deep shots, 20-plus yards. I do expect this passing game to be very explosive. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to what the receivers can do with Mensah. I think he's a great quarterback in terms of distributing the ball all around. So I don't think Malachi Toney needs 100 catches again to still be just as good or as effective. If anything, maybe a little bit less receptions, and maybe you get some more of him on some other ends. Maybe a little more wildcat, maybe a little more in the backfield. Maybe even he takes a punt back to the house this year, because he was very close to taking several punts back for touchdowns last year. So I think Malachi Toney can become dynamic in even more ways this upcoming season. I don't think this is a one-off. I don't think it's a flub. I don't think a sophomore slump is on the way, barring injury. He is Mr. Consistent. You see it with his work ethic, everything he's been doing this offseason. And as a matter of fact, he's put on 12 pounds of muscle coming into this season, even more durable, even though he never had any injury concerns before. So I'm looking forward to Malachi Toney in year 2. Guys, for everyone listening, thank you for everyone who's stopping by. I got close to almost 300 people in here in the first 10 minutes or so. Thank you, everyone, as always, for the love and support. Make sure to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. We got a lot more content coming. But for the people watching, throw in your comments, what numbers do you expect for Malachi Toney in year 2? And, hey, even for the fun of it, what do you expect for Darian Mensah? What do you think his passing numbers are in year 1 for him with the Hurricanes, but in 2026? So, Brett, the other part of the segment I want to talk about here with Miami and camp coming up. Everyone's always talking about the offense. We've talked about, some of the concerns with the team, whether it's some of the questions at tight end, some of the questions at linebacker. But my thing is this. I look towards what college football's natural order was before in the past, pre-transfer portal, you didn't have that luxury of adding a ton of guys. And it's not like Miami's adding double-digit players from the transfer portal anymore. They're very much more selective now. So when I look at the tight end and linebacker position, everyone always brings up their concerns, and I brought up mine too. But college football's natural order before the portal was next man up mentality. It was, all right, this guy moved on. He got drafted. This guy graduated. Whatever XYZ story was for that departing player, it was always the expectation, at least in the University of Miami, that you recruited and you evaluated well enough that you could replace those guys. So, biggest thing everyone's been talking about this offseason, how do you replace Ruben Bain? How do you replace an Akeem Mesidor? How do you replace a Francis Mauanoa or Markel Bell, who made significant strides within a year and a half with the Miami football program? I think it's very simple. Look at the year-over-year results. The only thing that you've seen from the Miami Hurricanes since Mario Cristobal has arrived is an upward trajectory. An upward trajectory in the sense that the records have gotten better. They've moved even further into the season. They've made it into the postseason. They made a run to the championship. So naturally, you would think they do know a thing or two if this has been improvement year over year. Now, obviously, significant injuries could change any track or whatever during a season. But Brett, I think it's reasonable to expect Miami has several 5-stars that they recruited that can replace what Ruben Bain and Akeem Mesidor were able to bring. Now, I'm not saying all in one piece. I think it'll be a collective group, a collective effort. But Marquise Lightfoot was a 5-star recruit. Armando Blunt was a 5-star recruit. Hayden Lowe was a 5-star recruit. Shoot, as a matter of fact, Damon Wilson, who Miami brought in from Missouri, who was one of the SEC's best pass rushers just last season, he was a 5-star recruit himself that Mario Cristobal wanted in the same class as Ruben Bain, and has been a super elusive prospect from Miami for so many years that now he's finally here for his last year of collegiate eligibility. So those are just 5-stars that you have in that room, aside from a rising Justin Scott, who could become a legitimate NFL player in his 3rd year now with the program, who really flashed in that second half of the season in the playoffs. So, Brett, am I on the right track here? Like, your opinion, your opinion on this. I think Miami's recruited well enough that this is not a situation of, oh, they're going to go through the motions. Like, yeah, there will be some growing pains, but I don't think they're going to go through the motions for an entire year. I think they can replicate very similar production again because of the players they've evaluated and brought into this program, specifically on the defensive line.
No, I totally agree with you. It's not like, teams do it with mirrors some years, and, you say, how did that team have such a great year? But with the Miami Hurricanes, you can tell that Mario is building a culture. I know the Miami Heat has used the wording culture. And while they don't win every year and sometimes they have down years, there is a culture for the Heat. And winning teams have that culture. The Miami Hurricanes had that culture, not only in the late 90s and the early 2000s, but the run we had in the 80s. I mean, we had so many guys going to the NFL, and we talked about we still were able to be right there for the national championship, basically almost every year for 9 straight years. So guys were going to the pros every single year, but we kept it going. The guys that took their place they may not have been as good, or they may have been better, but whatever. The continuity, the family, the attitude. There's an old saying. I think it was I'm not sure which one of the great. I don't know if it was Zig Ziglar or who that said it. If you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. Okay? If you think you can't, you're not going to get it happen, no matter what it is in life. Can I make this sale? I don't think I'm going to be able to make this sale, be it insurance, be it cars, be it whatever. Can I make this sale? I'm not sure. If it's in your mind. I think Mario has the Miami Hurricanes. They believe they think they can. And that is a big part of the battle. going into the game and saying, we can win. Now, it's one thing to go, like we all thought when Mario first started, we played Alabama, so we're going to be able to play with Alabama. We're going to be, and I really thought we'd beat Alabama. They have the new offensive coach, they everything. And then, we just got killed. We just were not as big as them. I think when our players, we practice so hard, but we look across from the other team and we say, hey, we can beat this team. We not only can beat this team, we will beat this team. That is a huge factor that we're not going to fear anybody. Every single game, we're not going to go in there overconfident, but I think Mario's got them that they're going to go in and know they play their game, they will win. Nobody can stop them if they play their game. I thought that in the playoffs last year. I said, if we can just get in the darn playoffs, if they can pick the Canes in there, there is not one team that is better than us. If we get in, we can show the world that we can beat anybody. We may not win the national championship, but we can play with anybody. And sure enough, we had a tough as heck schedule. I mean, the gauntlet that we had to run to get there. And then, you know what? We came within a play or two of winning the championship. So Mario's got them. Hey, last year we knocked on the door. This year we're going to knock it down. I really feel that in my heart. So great news. Mario's bringing in the 5 stars. He's bringing in the players that can. He's bringing in winning players. You know what? These guys think they can, and that is more than half the battle. They think they can. They know they can, looking at each other, looking at the other team. And my opinion is they will.
Yeah. I think it's very simple. It's the mentality this team has taken on. I don't think that just is going to seep out of the program from one year to the next, because there's a great majority of this roster returning this year that was on that team last year that were key cogs to the whole piece, to the whole puzzle they had for the roster last year. So my thing is, I agree with you on the continuity. I absolutely agree with you, because big time playmakers on the defense returning, like Bryce Fitzgerald. All your cornerbacks are returning. Zachariah Poyser, who's a leader on the defense, returning. Mohamed Toure. Ahmad Moen, like more than anything, we spoke about this, I think, over a month or 2 months ago, but we made an emphasis on this that, everyone gets worked up about replacing Bain and replacing Mesidor. And I think the collective group can absolutely do that. In the defensive end room. I don't think it's necessarily going to be 1 or 2 guys that specifically do it. It's going to be a group effort. But I look directly at Ahmad Moten and Justin Scott as anchors to this defense. Like, go back and watch the tape. Like, Miami's emphasized this when I've had conversations with some people around Miami throughout this offseason. They've always emphasized, even from a recruiting standpoint, we want to continue to dominate up front. We want to push teams off the ball. And you watch the tape of those 2 guys in the playoffs, they did extremely well, especially Ahmad Moten. Ahmad Moten's being talked about this offseason potentially as a top 10 pick. Again, potential is a scary word. You still got to go through another year. However, I think those 2 guys are the anchors to this defensive line this year. I think both are legitimate NFL draft prospects. And the one who probably has the most to gain of anything is Justin Scott, because of what he showed in that back half of the season last year. He wasn't a starter out of the gate when the season opened last year. He gradually won that job towards the back half. So I'm excited to see a full year of Justin Scott. He's continued to put on good weight, effective weight is what I call it. And he's gotten stronger, because I think if people look back to when he was coming out of high school, yes, he was a big time recruit coming out of that Chicago area, but he was playing a lot of basketball, different sports and whatnot. His first year at Miami, he was a little bit light, showed a little flashes, but last year got his weight up more. Even now, you look at him, he really physically looks the part now of a big time defensive tackle in college football. So I look at that defensive tackle group as being able to anchor that defensive line as a whole, that those 2 guys are going to be the ones that everyone looks at like as the difference makers. And especially for the linebackers, having defensive tackles that could take over games can make the job much easier on your linebacker group. So I want to shift over to the other side of things, because the first round draft picks that Miami had were 2 defensive linemen. And then the question comes up, how do you replace a Francis Mauigoa? Jackson Cantwell is almost as close as good as you can get for a true freshman that arrived at the Power 4 level. And the fact that the coaches, mind you, people will say, oh, well, true freshman and this and that. The coaches have had enough trust to have Jackson Cantwell as their left tackle since day one when spring practice opened. They're starting left tackle. Mind you, he was getting very good reps against guys like Reuben Bain and Akeem Mesidor during those playoff practices. I think that was very key that he got here super early. So between that, getting reps against one of the better speed rushers in the country in a Damon Wilson, getting reps against a pure physical power rusher and Armando Blunt, a guy like Marquise Lightfoot who has a quick first step, a freak show athlete like Hayden Lowe who could potentially put it all together, maybe even the most all-rounded prospect of those defensive ends, we'll see. But the fact that Jackson Cantwell has been getting all of those reps dating back to January till now, that's a lot of time to work with. This is not like this guy's arriving and getting his first reps of practice in August. He's been here for months now. He's been in the strength and conditioning program. His parents are also Olympians, so they take the conditioning part very serious. He's always been like that since he was in high school, taking that very serious in terms of taking care of his body and preparation. So I'm fine with the transition to, I know it's opposite sides of the line, but Francis Mauigoa being first-round tackle, I think Jackson Cantwell, he could be on that similar track. He could eventually one day be a first-round tackle himself. So I think also the development of how quickly Ben Congdon caught on to things in spring gives you some wiggle room in the sense that I think most of the offensive line positions are figured out right now. I think you could expect Jackson Cantwell will be your left tackle, Samson Okunlola your left guard, your center Ryan Rodriguez. But I think the 2 positions that you could still have some wiggle room with, where I'm sure the competition will still wear on in fall camp, right guard and right tackle. Because remember, Matthew McCoy, he initially came in as a tackle at Miami, then switched to guard. Now he's back to tackle. He can play both positions. I think you got to find what's your best mixture of, is McCoy better as your right guard and maybe a Ben Congdon? I know it's asking a lot having 2 true freshmen. I'm just spitballing here a little bit because of how rapidly Ben Congdon caught on. From a physical standpoint, he looks how you want it to look like. He's like 6'8", 300 pounds, wrestling background, good footwork already as it is since he's arrived. And then the buzz that's been coming in on Joel Irvin ever since he's been cleared health-wise with a clean bill of health, working out with the team and everything conditioning-wise leading into fall camp, and how excited they are about him, the certain comments I was told about him, what they think of him, the coaching staff. I think all that wrapped together, and the fact you have Max Buchanan, who did a really good job at right guard in spring, who could definitely start for this team this year. Like physically, he's there and ready now. He's much more prepared than he was last year. I think last year was more getting his feet wet. And an experienced guy like Jamal Merriweather, who could play some guard, could play some tackle. Max Buchanan's even played some tackle before. I think there's a lot of options that, Brett, I'll say this much. I saw a preseason ranking list within the last 24 hours on offensive lines around the country. You want to know where Miami landed?
Where?
39. Miami landed 39 on one specific preseason ranking list. I, as a matter of fact, I saved it here. And I'm sorry to the person who I'm about to call out, but when I saw this, it was wrong. It was wrong in every way. Pick Six Previews, who does a really good job in terms of all the preseason previews and everything, they had Miami's offensive line already in the top 10. But the one I saw today, I have to pull it up here. I saved it here specifically because I could not believe this when I saw it. I think it's way off the mark as well. Did I save it in the bookmarks? No, I saved this in the likes. Give me 1 second, Brett, while I grab this specific piece, because
Pick Six Previews is the magazine that does has the 1 page for each team. Is that it? And the online as well.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, so. But Pick Six is not the one who had Miami's offensive line at 39. It was someone else.
If you open Pick Six Previews, Canesware is actually the advertiser on that page, Gio. You remember you set me up with that, so we are on that page, Canesware Miami Fanware, and so it's exciting. We're excited to be partnering with that company. We'll look that up, Gio, and then we'll get to questions and comments. What I will say is, in the old days, they used to say the competition on the field at Miami in practice is harder than the games, they used to say. And that's the good thing. I think right now there is a chip on everybody's shoulder when you have the Reuben Baines leave, when you have the Francises leave. You know, when you have all the guys that are leaving, that everyone says, can they be replaced? The guys that are replacing them, I think, have a chip on their shoulder to say, I love those guys. They're my brothers. But you know what? Hold my beer. Let's see what I can do.
So I found the number, and I found exactly where the source came from. So Phil Steele, who's been doing preview magazines for several years, I'm sure everyone knows Phil Steele's All-American lists and all that and everything, all that good stuff. Notre Dame's offensive line, who Miami dominated, shredded last season, is number 1 on Phil Steele's list. Mm-hmm. Miami's offensive line landed at 39, as I said, from Phil Steele. I could not believe it when I saw this because, look, I get it. There are some guys to replace, but there are guys who are returning. You have 2 starters returning in Okunlola and Matt McCoy. All right? Those are 2 guys returning. You have, depending on which website you looked at, the number 1 overall player in the country coming out of high school, Gatorade High School Player of the Year, mind you, first offensive lineman to ever win that, Jackson Cantwell, on that line this year as well. And then one of the 6 men from last year, and Ryan Rodriguez as the center. There, not only is there experience, but a big name being injected into that group. To top all of that, you have 2 of the best offensive line coaches in the country in Mario Cristobal and Alex Mirabal, and Phil Steele ranked Miami's offensive line coming into this year as 39 in the country. I don't know, Brett. Look, I get it. I get it. If someone doesn't want to rank them in the top 5, whatever, because there's going to be some new faces, fine. Maybe even top 15 I'd get or whatever, but 39? 39. You're telling me Miami can't feel the better.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Let me say it again. I love 39. I hope they all make us 39. You don't win championships or awards based on preseason accolades. That is for the fans to discuss and banter about, which we are doing in the show, which is great. But that doesn't win you anything. If every single place that analyzes teams got Malachi Toney as the player of the year, Darian Mensah as the quarterback of the year. Mark Fletcher is the running back of the year. Our offensive line is the best offensive line ever. Our defense line is the best defense. Our secondary is second to none. You know what? It's going to be an edge. Every number. Forget that everyone's going to be shooting for you. It is human nature to lay back a little bit when you think you're the best. Even though I said, if you think you can, you can. And, you need to know when you feel, you're going to win. But when everybody is patting you on the back, I don't care what age you're playing sports or anything in the world, you're the greatest, you're the greatest, you're the greatest, you're the greatest. You know what? Human nature says, I'm not going to work as hard. So I am quite happy. Let Phil Steele, let them all say the Miami Hurricanes are 39th. It doesn't matter. We are going to put it on the wall, and we are going to say, F them. We're going to not listen to anybody. And let them put that on the freaking bulletin board. I love it. Let someone think we're 39. Who cares? What matters is winning. And let any reason have the edge. We're going to have the edge because of that. That offensive line needs to say, you need to go ahead when you see them and say, hey, look, like bulls. You're like the bullfighter with the red coat. But instead, you've got the article. Look at this, 39th, guys, 39th.
Look, I'm with you. I'm on that page that it doesn't matter at the end of the day, but I just see some of these things and I think to myself, I'm like, you couldn't be serious when you were doing this, right? Like you do realize who the two guys are that are coaching that offensive line, right?
And we want to be disrespected. We want to be disrespected. It is the greatest thing to be disrespected and then show it. Let some team go, just like Ruben Bain last year. Who would we play? Texas A&M, and they're big hot. Oh, we're going to blow them out. Ruben Bain isn't nearly as good as our guy, and we play our guy in practice all the time. Our guy's got this many sacks, and Ruben Bain only has this many sacks. Well, you know what? We know what happened in that game. Okay, so let them disrespect us. When they are disrespecting us, they're not putting both foot forward to go. You know what? You want to go ahead and let these guys think they have a chance, and then you wallop them.
Yeah, right on point. All righty. With all that said, it is time for
questions and comments.
Now
that you got that high-tech system?
I'm working on it. So, guys, for everyone listening, I'm sure you can see I've been doing a whole new setup and everything. I have a command center of sorts here, like a kind of like this touch screen where I can introduce a lot of things into the stream, like some soundboards and everything. A lot of neat features are going to be coming. I'm just refining, adding things. When it is ready, stay tuned because this show is going to become very, very interactive in the near future.
Yes. Let me say one other thing, Gio. There are a few things. Remember to like and subscribe, share the post. Caneswear TV is sponsored by Caneswear, the Spot Miami Fan Shop. We will be bringing on some other sponsors in the future as well. With Caneswear, always obviously is the title name. But subscribe to the app or download the app, okay, caneswear.com. A lot going on there. We've got the news by Alex Dono. We got 2 new articles that are coming out right now. Alex is writing almost an article a day, which we're very happy to have him on the team. Also, we want to say that we are partnering with Canes Command Center. We are in the beginning stages of it. It is a phenomenal website, you can just go right to see it on the Caneswear app, caneswear.com, your Google store or your Apple Store, Canes Command Center. You'll be able to see that there. It's in a trial basis right now, but it should be rolling 100% shortly. But check it out. It's awesome. And another thing, somebody dropped a rumor the other day that we may be getting some Malachi Toney backpacks. I mean, you guys may or may not have heard it. For those people that are into backpacks or Malachi, who we spent half the show talking about, we do have a great relationship with Spray Ground. We're waiting for more information. The phone is ringing nonstop. If you want to be, besides being the show, which we'll let people know on, but for instant knowledge of when drops are happening, when those backpacks are going to come live, okay? So it's going to be a free-for-all, and it's going to be first come, first serve once we announce it. You need to download the app and then go ahead hit subscribe, hit notifications. We'll be announcing it there. We will possibly go live on Caneswear TV as well and do some social media on that. But the first place we're going to say it is on the app. And that's when anything drops. When we get more Malachi Toney jerseys in black and white, we're going to let you know. When we get other amazing items this year that you will not believe, we're going to announce it right there. So make sure you download the app. We've got the news on there with Alex Dono. We've got King Command Center with Max, who will be starting a podcast soon on this show as well, on our station as well. A lot of great things going on, but download that app, subscribe to this, as you all know, and like and subscribe. We got the branded Bills hats on me and Gio. They're awesome. Great hats, super light. And we've got about 20 different designs with more coming. So lots of exciting things happening. Like, subscribe, download, all those good things. So without any further ado, without saying a Gio, let's go to questions and comments.
Absolutely. So Nick Adams said, "Hey, Gio, I talked to Coach Dickert. For anyone not familiar who Coach Dickert is, that's from Wake Forest. And he said they are wearing all black uniforms for the Miami game. I can't wait for that week." That is one of the two sleeper games, Brett, I've said that I'm kind of watching for this year with Miami. The Wake Forest and the Clemson games being on the road. Those are two that I'm watching as like, okay, could they surprise Miami? Could those teams be up to try to start a rock fight with Miami? We'll see. But Wake Forest is one of those. So, but yeah, interesting. So they're going to do the all blacks. All right.
No,
I guess Miami's got
they
a
were all black when they played in the in Hard Rock a few years back, didn't they? When they came in, it was a huge game. We beat them. They were doing well, and they were all black in that game. So hopefully, it's the same results. It will be the same results.
Juan Manuel said, "Hey, what happened to our early bird comments of me and a few other fanatics here on Sunday night? Just to raise." Yeah, Juan, I think when I change the title to like what the show is actually going to be about, I think it wipes anything from before. But I did see your guys' comments from before because I was in here inside this specific show, like without it being live, testing out a few things last night and then again this morning. I'm sure some of you caught me this morning doing a test run of a morning stream, which is coming very, very, very soon. Stay tuned.
Absolutely.
Juan Manuel, Gio and Brett, how is our linebacker room coming along? No, we are not talking about our senior citizen linebackers collecting Social Security, Medicare, silver sneakers, and Viagra, and the pump SRs are active today. So, look, one thing I'll say, well, two things I'll say, actually. You know what? No, we're going to go to three things, actually. So, number one, Bobby Pruitt, physically much more there now to be a more every down linebacker rather than a pseudo like safety rover linebacker, whatnot. More up to par now physically what would be needed at the position. Kamal Bonner's healthy now. He's improved from last year. Number three, I'll mention Kellen Wiley and Ezekiel Marcelin. I left spring a little more optimistic about those two guys and their development within the room because Mario did challenge them in the media during spring saying, hey, you know, if your name is not Chase Smith or Mohamed Toure, I need to see more. So that did come about. Those guys, I liked how they responded. They performed better. But I still think it's one of those situations, Juan, where we got to see when fall camp is here, what's the progress? Has there been any jump from spring to fall? I think Miami's fine with like what they project, what is projected to be their top two guys, Toure and Smith. Chase Smith is very healthy now. He's had a really good offseason. He's one of the guys that could make a nice jump this year. But I absolutely hear people when you say, what about the younger linebackers? What about the other guys? Because there will be some level of rotation there. So I absolutely hear you. Juan Manuel said, Gio, is there a scenario that'll save Fletcher and Toney plus irreplaceable players, Milton and Justin Scott playing time? Don't see a scenario up 28. Wait. Is there a scenario that'll save Fletcher and Toney plus irreplaceable and Justin Scott playing time? Don't see a scenario up 28 at halftime at Stanford, Florida, not play the second half. Juan, do you mean by like Miami putting up more points and some of those guys getting rest and some of the younger players getting reps? I think we could possibly see more of that this year off the simple fact that I don't think Miami's defense is going to be the 2024 version that we saw with Lance Guidry here, like with the Cam Ward offense. But I also think Miami's offense is going to be more explosive this year than they were last year. So I could see some games where Miami's up big early on and they'll start filtering in some of those guys off the bench to get some key reps. So if that's what you mean, yeah, I do see that happening. And more so I see that happening after what Mario and the coaches, I think what they acknowledged and realized with the ACC last year, that you can't run it and grind it out against some of those teams. Sometimes you just got to put the points on the board, baby. That's all you got to do.
Absolutely.
Juan Manuel said, all black uniforms should be outlawed. Don't get it. Don't mess with the helmet or uniform. Juan Manuel said, hey, Miss Hudson and Big Bill up here in Chapel Hill. When is this Save College Football bill going to happen? Big Bill wants ACC refs to experience the Bison 25 feet in the air flip. Signed petition. We shall see, Juan. But the one thing, though, is you got that 5-year rule now, which, by the way, I want to mention about the new 5-year eligibility rule. So guys get grandfathered into the old rule, like the old way. So, for example, if it's more beneficial to you for the old practice that you still had some eligibility remaining and, the COVID year counting and some of the medical red shirts and everything, guys can carry that out. But any recruit coming in moving forward now, you are on that 5-year track, whether you like it or not. So, for example, guys on this team right now that you wouldn't see is like a Muhammad Toure or Chase Smith wouldn't be here now if that rule was applied to them. So it's not like a retroactive thing right now, but it is going forward. And if it benefits any player going forward, like if they could potentially get one more year with the new rule, they can opt in. So it's pretty interesting. So we'll still have some super seniors and whatnot here or there, but it's going to diminish year over year now. Raymond Rodriguez said, Canes football is almost here. I can almost feel it in the air. You can feel it, right? Phil Collins, right around the corner. Lorraine Kane, all those branded Bill hats are fire. Thank you, Lorraine. Yes, they absolutely are. I actually grabbed about like 4 or 5 of them for myself today. I love it. Raymond Rodriguez just got me one of the black. He actually said, Raymond has the same hat as me, actually. He said, damn, Gio got my hat. I love this one. Like it's nice.
Yeah, that one is cool. I realized we're going to order the white one in several others, but that looks unbelievable. The black one. I would have got it, but I didn't want to look just like Gio on the show.
I do like the green one. I was thinking about that one.
Hey.
I got a few others, guys, that I'm going to showcase on some of the next shows. Let's see here. Juan Manuel said, Heatherman has a surplus of talent to work with, and so does Dawson. Yes, they both do. Yeah. Raymond Rodriguez just got me the black Brandon Bill. Oh, so that was the one he was talking about. Juan Manuel said, Big Bill up here in Chapel Hill wants a Brandon Bill hat too.
Yes, Bill, you can have one. As soon as we beat you, we'll send one out to you.
So Tony Jones mentions here, Bryce Fitzgerald has definitely changed his body. He looks notably bigger. Yeah. Guys like him and Marquise Lightfoot, there's definitely some noticeable changes this offseason. I think more so Fitzgerald himself. He's even said in the recent video that got posted this evening, 20 pounds of muscle like throughout the offseason. And yeah, you could definitely notice it. He looks different compared to high school, different from last year. Mind you, I think it's very key to point out that he arrived basically like a little before fall camp last year. So he didn't get a full off season with Miami, which is incredible when you consider the production he had, Brett. So I'm excited to see what Bryce Fitzgerald could be in year 2 with his Miami career.
Absolutely.
Juan Manuel said Miami plays basketball. Yes, they do. And Miami is actually pretty relevant again in basketball. Not only Hurricanes as well.
Baseball pickup too today, didn't we?
Yes, it was a commitment for baseball as well.
Mm-hmm.
Robert Hollub said, good evening. Not sure if my previous message got through to you, but I was trying to let Brett know. I sent him an image of Iron P showing him for iron sharpens iron. Let me know what you think.
All right, Robert. When did you send that? I remember you said you were going to send it to me, and I've got to look it up again. I'll check on Facebook if I missed it. I don't know if I saw it or not, so I will definitely check that.
Yeah. So Juan said, Bryce Fitzgerald, don't give away your info your opponents can use. Andy said, hello, boys. Thank you for stopping by, Andy. Andy stopped by during the test stream this morning. I did. Thank you, Andy. He was kind of like my audio tech in the morning, just working out a few kinks. Porch Kane. Bryce should not play nickel. He was at the AB camp. He said nickel. Yeah, look, we'll see. I mean, Bryce, the 20 pounds of muscle is definitely a big difference. It's very noticeable. He looks bigger than before. Anyone who's seen the recent pictures or even the video, you could definitely see it, the change with his physique. But we'll see. I mean, Omar Thornton did a really good job at nickel during spring. But I go back to even last year, Miami got Keontae Scott from the spring portal. You know, most people thought post-spring last year, maybe Charles Brantley would be the nickel for Miami. He didn't even end up playing a lot for Miami last year. Keontae Scott came through after this, after spring in the spring portal, and he had the huge year last year. So things could definitely change. Nothing's exactly set in stone all the way across the board with each position or the depth chart from spring to fall. Things can definitely shift. B Rabbit said, love the new setup, Gio. Thank you. Thank you. Juan Manuel, they figure Mensa will overtake Toney as player of the year, give someone else a participation mention for equal opportunity ACC. Yeah, whatever it is, man. Look, at the end of the day, Malachi Toney should have never been left off of there. There's no excuse why they have 2 Clemson players on there and only 1 from Miami. Makes 0 sense. Blue Green Street said Malachi Toney will win the ACC Player of the Year. That would definitely be nice. I think Miami's got a few candidates. The 3 that I mentioned earlier, a Darian Mensah, Mark Fletcher, or Malachi Toney. I think either of those guys have the ability to win it. Juan Manuel said more deep balls for Malachi Toney from the slot. Well, if you look back to last year, there was some miscues like between Beck and Toney at times on some of those deep shots where Toney created like significant separation on some of those deep shots. So I expect more of those to connect. That's a bread and butter to Darian Mensah's game as a quarterback. He's been successful throwing the ball downfield. He's the most efficient guy throwing ball down the field, returning to college football this year. So I think it's going to translate. B Rabbit said, with the way the offense would be, I will not be surprised to see Mally throw the ball out of the backfield more this year to keep everyone honest. Agreed, B Rabbit. I think Malachi Toney can be more dynamic in the sense that he doesn't need 100 catches anymore. You could use him in other ways. Like maybe we'll see a couple punt return touchdowns this year, which almost happened last year. Maybe we could see some more reverses or however, jet sweeps, or even just lining up out of the backfield. Just simply that. Or some more Mally-cat, what I like to call it, the Wildcat with Malachi Toney. Lorraine said, is that an Ibis bobblehead? Love it. Yes, it is. That is an Ibis bobblehead inside that glass container there with the computer. Dolphin Derek, thank you for stopping by. One of the biggest Cane fans I know. He said, go Canes. And then he also asked, when can I get one of those bags, Brett?
Thank you. Yes, make sure you download that app, Dolphin Derek, and we will keep people posted. Every other day, we're going to announce what's going on as soon as we know, and we are very excited to get those. There is a limited amount coming, and even though to us it's a lot, but since there's about 10,000 people that have called and want them, they are definitely going to go to a few hundred people are going to get theirs.
Let's see here. Alex 420 Garza, Jacksonville, Florida, checking in. The 504. Thank you for stopping by.
504, baby.
Juan Manuel, I think you could sneak some home runs with putting Jacobs on takeoff from slot. Defense unsuspecting the speed. Yeah, but I don't think Vandrevis Jacobs is a natural fit in the slot, though. I think more like an X or maybe some Z as well. I've never really seen him play much slot before, at least from the tape I've watched. I think you'd have to go back to like when he was playing at Vero Beach to see more of some like in high school when he played more slot. Jose Gonzalez said, I'm pretty sure Mally will settle for a national championship win this year. Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. I agree on that. Thank you.
Lorraine said national championship will be a better win than individual awards. I agree with you, Lorraine. Keynes Jones, I love those new caps you guys have on. Where could I buy those caps at? Are they on sale? You could buy them at Caneswear. And as a matter of fact, exclusive to the app right now, you can get 10% off on your next purchase if you make that purchase on the Caneswear app. You can find it on the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. Take advantage of it. Don't miss out.
Absolutely. When you log in, when you go in there, you'll see the schedule, and then a few seconds later, we'll pop up the promo code, and use that promo code on the app only. It works, and it's 10% off. And right now, it is on. It will be off shortly, because when the bags come out, it will not be on.
Rock and Rant said they disrespected Malachi on the ballot because they are all bent out of shape about Mensa. Narduzzi was a total embarrassment. I hope Mario runs it up. I'm with you. I don't buy the Mason Heinschel story and about Miami. Look, Mason Heinschel is a good quarterback. I get it, but never did I hear at any point throughout this offseason, like even before the Mensa stuff, that Miami was going to go in that direction. So, look, is what it is. But Rock and Rant, I do want to say though, I want to have you on the show soon. Like Brett, Rock and Rant does really good job.
It's you've been asking, so for sure.
Wayne said, "Good evening, Brett, Gio, Andy, and everyone else. Thank you for stopping by as always, Wayne." Alex 420 Garza, Malachi Toney will win Heisman and ACC championship with a very nice national championship ring. You know why I think Malachi Toney could have a better shot than other receivers potentially winning a Heisman one day, Brett? Not saying it will happen, but why he would have a better shot? More all-around player that he can throw the ball, can return kicks and punts, can run out of the backfield, can catch. All those things intertwined into one, I think, creates an exciting player, which I think is what's needed to win that award. 305 Sports Now, Will, he said, "Gentlemen, thank you for stopping by as always, Will." Champ, I believe it's Diggy Briz. He said, "The only thing that concerns me is that we have a lot of depth, including a group of a fair amount of Jags, just the guys. Start the Greyhound. I know it's early, but I think there's guys on the roster in hindsight with the current trajectory wouldn't be in." Look, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I think, yeah, could there be some guys that Miami maybe eventually moves on from? Yeah, natural order of college football. But I think for the most part, like the majority of their two deep, I think are guys that are contributors, guys that can help. Not everyone's going to be a great player. You know, you're going to have good players, you can have role players, but you will have some great players too. So I hear you though. Wayne said for Malachi Toney this year, he has it marked down as 94 receptions, 1,126 yards, 8 touchdowns. So the 8 touchdowns is like receiving touchdowns, I'm assuming, because I think he'll go over double-digit touchdowns again easy because of everything else he could do. Jose Gonzalez said, "It's fitting that Malachi was on the cover of EA Sports this year because this year's offense is going to put up video game numbers." Jose, I like how you mentioned that. I agree.
So if you look at it, we're talking about the Canes scoring at least 40 points a game on average. I mean, obviously, this is all hypothetical. But if that's the case, they're going to score probably 7 to 8 touchdowns a game, right? Probably no, what's that, 6 to 7 touchdowns a game. So let's say even at 6 touchdowns a game, 6 times 12 is 72 touchdowns. So I got that right?
6 times 12, 12, 24, 36, 48, 70. Wait, no.
6 times 12 is 72. But anyway, so 6 touchdowns.
Yeah, I'm not bad.
6 touchdowns is 42 points. 6 times 12, 72 touchdowns during the season. So you know what? So who's going to score those touchdowns? Obviously, there's several players for one ball. But if we score 72 touchdowns this year, that's a lot of touchdowns to be spread around. I mean, Malachi can get double digits. Cooper can get double digits. Joshua Moore can get. I mean, that's a lot of touchdowns. So let's see.
Look, Brett, I mean,
some of them are going to be run in, obviously. Some of them are going to be passed. Let's say we're 36 run, 36 pass. So that's quite a bit scored. So let's see what happens. If that's the case, we're going to see several guys with double-digit touchdowns.
Yeah, look, I'll say this. Darian Mensah had 34 touchdowns with Duke last year.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
There's more talent for him to work with here.
And
mind you, before anyone struts out to say in the comments, or Miami haters out there try to say, Duke had a 1,000-yard rusher last year too, a really good young running back actually. So it's not like Darian Mensah didn't have a run game either. So he put up 34 passing touchdowns last year, ACC competition. This is not like any different conference, anything that it's going to translate. Whether the haters like it or not, I believe it's going to translate, and I think can translate even better.
No, it's definitely. I think that ball is going to be moved around to a lot of players this year. I mean, were Barkade and Malachi first-team receivers last year for ACC?
I'd have to check on Barkade, but I believe, depending on which publication you look at, Barkade has received some first-team nominations.
Well, they were both first. So the only thing I can think of on Malachi is it was so close with Kane. See, I don't know. Clemson may have a 1-2 players and then a big drop-off. With Miami, you've got Mensah, and then you've got Malachi. You've got Barkade, who was a star in his own right. You've got Fletcher, who was a star in his own right. I mean, there's a lot of people. So, like I said, I love the fact that we're being dissed on the offensive line, with Steele, with Malachi, Fletcher, nobody getting the vote. I love it. Let these guys have bulletin board material. If it's not in the bulletin board, let it be. Michael Jordan always had a chip on his shoulder. That's why he was so great. All right, because he knows he didn't make the team, in high school. Tom Brady always had that chip on his shoulder for being drafted in the 6th round. So you want that chip. And then you want the chip at the end of the year.
Yeah. Canes Jones said, ching, ching. Hello, guys. Go Canes and subscribe and download the Caneswear app for your latest Caneswear and read Alex Dono. Yes.
Absolutely. Read Alex. Alex is awesome.
Money Making Mitch. To me, Malachi is the best player in college football. I know Jeremiah Smith is bigger, but Mally is the better blocker, better in traffic, better lateral movement, higher football IQ, and better tackle breaker. Hey, there's quite a few things there that you didn't lie. It's not like you're lying what you're saying, Money Making Mitch. I think me and Brett have had this conversation. I'm probably going to make this into a whole segment before we open up camp, but basically it'll be something along the lines of why Malachi Toney is the better overall player. I think as a wide receiver prospect, yeah, Jeremiah Smith, like as pure wide receiver, but overall player, like impact to the game, Malachi Toney, like he can throw, he can run, he can catch, he can block. Absolutely. And he can also return kicks too. Like, look, I'm sure if you put him on defense, he could probably do a few things as well if you really wanted him to. But that's a story for another day. But yes, I am with you, Money Making Mitch, that if he's not the best, he is one of the best. And it's not anything further beyond like top 5 players in college. It's
all-around athlete, he is definitely there. I mean, I think Jeremiah will, if he stays at this pace, could be one of the great receivers in the NFL. He's got everything. He's got the Paul Warfield, the Jerry Rice to him. But Malachi is an all-around player, which college football is known for. From way back when, if you're old enough, if someone like Canes Jones may remember Johnny Rogers from Nebraska and other players that were just superstar all-around players. Anthony Davis never did it but those guys could do everything.
Yeah. Let's see here. Money Making Mitch said a corner and a safety may shift for Jeremiah. The entire defense moves for Malachi. Yeah, they even tried bracketing him. So, I mean, some teams will try to bracket Jeremiah Smith too, but they tried bracketing Malachi Toney at times. And then, it took for like Keelan Marion stepping up and CJ Daniels stepping up to open it back up.
I hope they do. If Malachi gets doubled this year, with the other threats we have. I mean, it is going to be very interesting how fast they have to drop the double, because I think those other guys will rip them.
Wayne said Mensa 39-72 passing yards, 35 touchdowns. D-Briz said, I think we might have taken a few too many high school kids this past cycle with 30 and too few portal kids, which has been working for us. Well, here's the thing, D-Briz. I'll say, like, at least what comes from Miami's end, that they believe in the guys that they've brought onto this roster from the high school ranks. Like, I don't think it's so much that, like, they strategically just said one day, like, okay, this year we're going to take less guys, whatever. I think it's a progressive thing year over year that they've become more and more selective with the transfer portal. Like, do people not remember when Mario first got here? There was, like, they brought in, like, I think it was like 18, 19, 20 guys the first year out of the transfer portal. Not all those guys were impact guys. Now, fast forward to this past year, almost every guy they brought in from the portal almost made a significant impact on the team last year. Brockermeyer. So you had Brockermeyer, Shamar Brown, CJ Daniels, Keelan Marion, Zachariah Poyser, Keontae Scott, Jacoby Thomas, Muhammad Teray. All these guys made significant impacts. So I think the evaluations have continued to get better, and they've continued to become more selective, and they have, like, a truth and conviction in their evaluation process that they are confident in the choices and decisions that they are making when it comes to taking players or bringing guys into this program. So from their approach, they want to continue investing more even on the guys that they're bringing in from the high school ranks. I hear what you're saying, that, you know, maybe you think that they're taking too little or whatever, that they took a really big class. Look, it's a smaller high school class this year, and I think they're doing a phenomenal job with, like, look, they're top 3 in the country right now in recruiting. So I guess when there's not too much going wrong, people can find things to nitpick at, but I think it's fine right now. Rock and Rant, the funny thing to me, those who question if Miami can replace their defensive line or their offensive line are the same people that don't question that Ohio State lost 3 draft picks in the top 11 off of their defense. Thank you. 2 huge pieces with those linebackers in Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles, and the safety who I didn't understand why he moved down in the draft. I thought he was a top 5 talent in the draft, but Caleb Downs, phenomenal safety prospect. So, yeah. This is an interesting one. I actually want to talk about this. So 904 Hurricane. He says here, David Lake made a good point. He said it will be interesting to see if Mario actually goes with a high school quarterback if Mensa leaves, considering it's Toney's 3rd and more than likely final year. We've talked about this before, but I do want to mention this. If Darian Mensa does not get a first-round draft projection, like, you know, so many things could happen throughout the course of a season. And, you know, some of the scouts' questions on Mensa have been like, you know, the overall arm strength for the NFL level. There's not concerns at the college level, but the NFL level. Let's say if the hypothetical works out. We've talked about this before on here, that, yeah, there is some world, some alternate situation where maybe Darian Mensa is back a second year. However, I also believe this, at least the way Miami's approached it. We talked about this on the very last show, actually, about the quarterback plan going forward. With the guys that Miami's bringing in upcoming, like an Izzy Abrams, a CJ Cypher after that, both of those guys are 5-star quarterbacks. And you couple that with already having Luke Nickel here, you brought in Darion Coleman and everything, you're going to have a full-on competition next year. When you make that big investment that you have just made, like in those next 2 upcoming guys, along with the guys that you have returning that are expected to return for that competition, it is a big investment. And there's a lot of expectations you have in that building, at least from the coaches standpoint that, hey, do we spend on a guy that could potentially be a one-year rental, or do we have a quarterback for multiple years? So I think that competition will be really interesting next year if it takes place like that. Hey, but I'm not going to rule out either. If Darian Mensah doesn't get a first-round draft projection, why not come back? You get to spend an extra year with Malachi Toney. We've talked about this, that it's a very interesting prospect to have for a final year of Malachi Toney, one more year of Darian Mensah. Who would say no to that? So, yeah, clip that, by the way. Let's see here. Ralph said, hot pick. With the room he has to support him, I think Malachi is set to have a more spectacular season than Jeremiah Smith and will end up in New York at the end of the year as a Heisman finalist. Yeah, I think Malachi has a great supporting cast around him, like we spoke about earlier. The receivers that are around him, having a Cooper Barkate, who was Mensah's favorite guy last year and is a safety blanket of sorts for Mensah, does really well in the intermediate game and in the passing concepts. So him, you couple that with a guy like Vandrevius Jacobs, who does very well stretching the field, getting downfield, can play in the quick game as well. Cam Vaughn, Joshua Moore, who could stretch the field tremendously, can also win those jump balls as well. Biggest thing with Josh Moore, I think he is one of those starting receivers as long as he holds the consistency he had in spring into fall. I think he can be. Dalen Upshaw is a guy I've consistently mentioned when people say like someone people are sleeping on with the offense. I think he's going to have a pretty sizable role in this offense this year. Even if he's not starting, he's going to be in that mix of getting significant snaps. So I think that takes a lot of pressure off of Malachi Toney, because last year it was more so, yeah, you knew what you're getting with CJ Daniels. Keelan Marion continued to heat up throughout the season, but Miami never had that consistent other guy after Toney and Daniels early on in the season. You're entering this year with, you have 4 guys on this roster who were number ones for their programs last year. Malachi Toney was the number 1 guy for Miami last year. Cooper Barkate was the number 1 guy for Duke. Vandrevius Jacobs, depending on how you look at it, look at the tape and the numbers. Vandrevius Jacobs, by the numbers, he really was South Carolina's number 1 guy. I know everyone talks about Nicholas Harbor, but look at the numbers. And Cam Vaughn, who was number 1 for West Virginia. All those guys were number 1s last year for their respective programs. So
That's amazing.
I think it takes a lot of pressure off. I think it makes Darian Mensah's job easy, and I think it makes Malachi Toney's job even easier, because teams are not going to be able to key in on him all the time. It's going to be impossible because of the options Miami has at receiver. So let's continue.
It's amazing that all those number 1s wanted to come to us. That just shows they believe.
Possum Jenkins said, how do you see Damon Wilson and the team in general playing the run? Wilson struggled at times at Missouri and was taken off the field. Yeah, so Damon Wilson, one of the biggest reasons why he came to Miami was continuing to develop that aspect of his game. When you talk about purely as a pass rusher, one of the top 3 to 5 purely pass rushing guys as a defensive lineman. Absolutely. He's right there in that mix. But again, I'm sure everyone's seen the grades. They've seen some of the stats. Yes. Does he have to improve the run against the run? Yes. But I do think there's been a little bit of discourse at times that some people have considered like that he's a total liability against the run. I don't think that's the case. I think if you watch the tape, you can see that. Again, guys can improve year over year, even in their final years. Like, look at Keontae Scott. Look at Jacoby Thomas. Jacoby Thomas was in college for a little while. His best year, his final year, ended up being at Miami. So I'm not going to rule out, can Jason Taylor make this guy a better player? I absolutely think he can. I think Jason Taylor unlocked a whole new level to Akeem Mesidor last year. No one expected Akeem Mesidor to be a first-round pick last year in July. Anyone who tells you that they did, they're lying to you. I promise. Money Making Mitch, we are just seeing the reload in real time. We have not been used to seeing elite talent move on and replace them in a long time. That's who we are again. I'm with you. I'm with you when you're right, man.
Totally.
Look, I know for some people, this is probably one of those scenarios when you hear me saying some of this, you're probably like, damn, like Gio is very positive these days. I've seen the light, people. Look, if you don't believe after that run last year, what Miami did, that was no fluke. That does not happen by a fluke, what Miami did. They didn't get lucky or anything like, okay, some people could say, oh, they got lucky with the playoff ranking, whatever. They still beat the teams they did, and they did it the way they did.
Mm-hmm.
That matters.
Absolutely.
How it looks matters. Miami did that. So they have me bought in. I do think Miami is very legit again. So if you feel like I'm sunshine pumping, look, I'm not. I'm trying to stay as balanced as possible when I say these things. So yeah, I do think this is more reloading now rather than rebuilding. I think maybe you could say rebuild if you shift over to a young quarterback. Maybe you have a year that's maybe not as the high highs as the others, but still some excitement. But come on, you bring in a guy like Darian Mensah. What are the expectations? Yeah, the expectations are a postseason run and potentially winning it all.
Absolutely.
That you don't make that investment unless you have those expectations in the building. B-Rabbit, on the defense, we lost a lot of guys. We'll be able to replace the leadership that Bain and Messi and Scott brought. So I think guys you could point to as leaders, Ahmad Moten, Zeke Poyser. Who else would I point to? Mohamed Touré, big-time leader in that defensive room. And who else would I point to? Armando Blunt as well. And you could also say Bryce Fitzgerald as well. Those are guys specifically I'd point to. I know Omar Thornton, guys have really come to accept him on the team ever since he's arrived. It's been a very natural fit. So I think you could point to guys like that.
You know, we had Greg Rousseau, obviously became a first-round pick. He sat out that COVID year. Jalen Phillips jumped in. He became a first-round pick. I mean, when that actually was huge. I know that was under Manny, but that was huge to show that we started building that defense. Still, obviously, not like it is now, especially what we saw last year. But you know what? Once like the last person said, you go ahead and we're not rebuilding, we're reloading, and we are reloading. And guys that come in want to do as well. They don't, when they're feeling it, there's not, the good news is not just them against the world. It's they now have to go ahead, not them against other teams. It's they have to say, hey, I need to keep this continuity going. That was always why Miami had the runs and other great teams as well. You know, you move in there. When Alabama had all that success, it's like the next guy has to say, I'm up. Next guy up. And they are ready. And the fact that we had those playoffs and everything last year, they got to see everything. Great experience for our team.
I agree. Wayne said, you can do it, water boy. 904 Hurricane. Blunt and Lowe can hold the defensive end position down with Lightfoot and Wilson coming in on passing plays. Yep, we've spoken about this. I think key guys you could point to in terms of setting the edge, playing against the run consistently. Armando Blunt, absolutely. And I think people are sleeping on Armando Blunt's pass rushing abilities. He's definitely improved. He's also really young, too. Armando Blunt could technically really be a sophomore by age. He's a junior right now.
That's amazing.
Very young.
Everybody said when Cam Ward left, we couldn't win with possibly the greatest quarterback we've ever had. We'll never win again. That's all I heard from fans at the store and everywhere. And I said, hey, we won 5 championships before Cam Ward came. And if they weren't as good, we still won. It's a team thing. Last year, without Cam Ward, which obviously if we had Cam Ward, there would be no doubt we would have won the national championship, in my opinion. But without Cam Ward, we got to the national championship game. Other guys step up. They fill the gap. We became a better overall team because the defense got better. This year, I think it's the 3rd year of the plan. Cam Ward being the 1st year of the plan, followed by last year's team. We had a great offense, but a spectacular defense. This year is when it comes all together.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And even on the subject about Hayden Lowe, I think when you think of like the ceiling potential that's there, physically and even the skill set as well. Very well rounded in the sense that I think he could rush the passer very well at a high level and even play against the run at a high level. If it all comes together for him, absolutely. Again, people forget he was a big part of their plans to be in that rotation last year with that defense they had last year. So it's exciting to see what he could bring in what will be his first true year playing on the field because he had that injury last year.
Mm-hmm.
Possum Jenkins said, no defense is perfect. Tell me 3 issues you think this defense may have. Well, what's on my mind, I'll say, I hope it's not an issue, but I want to see not so much a complaint here about the safeties. I think the safeties did a good job on this in terms of finishing opportunities they had to make turnovers. I want to see the cornerbacks, the cornerback group in particular, that group of 4 to 5 guys, because now you have Jabari Antoine who's performing very well. I want to see that group finish on their opportunities for turnovers. I think there was too much meat left on the bone last year when it came to finishing turnovers from the cornerbacks group. I don't have an issue with the safeties. I think Keontae Scott made a great he did it very well on his opportunities he was given, but specifically the cornerbacks, the guys on the outside and the boundary, the field side, I want to see them finish those opportunities. Especially you point to that Ole Miss game. Miami could have blown that game out of the water if they finish on those turnovers. So I want to see that improve. So that is like what I think could be an issue, but maybe it could be fixed. I'd like to see it improve. The other issue I'd say, I don't think so much linebacker play, but I still get concerned at the end of the day about like linebacker depth with a defense. Like if some injuries happen, how do they figure like who are going to be their mainstays if a couple guys get banged up? I think they're fine with, like figuring out like a top 3, top 4 group, but injury bugs can happen. It does happen around college football. So we'll see on that. And last thing I'll say about the defense, the back shoulder fade. Can Miami defend that? Because I think they got killed with that in the national championship game. Is that a weakness to this defense? We will find out.
I don't think so. I think that was an anomaly. They did that well. Hey, this was the number 1 pick in the draft, the Heisman Trophy winner. We're geared up. I think I think that was an anomaly.
Charlie from El Paso said, what happened to the show from earlier today? I paused it. Then when I came back to it, it was deleted. Oh, so Charlie, that was just a test run. That wasn't like an actual show. It was just testing it out, making sure all the kinks were working because I was using a new software program for recording. But stick around and stay tuned because there are morning shows coming. Benny Boondocks, Brett, that shirt is elite. Benny Boondocks from the You Heard podcast. Thank you for stopping by.
Thank you, Benny. I love it. I knew this shirt would catch your eye. I said to Gio, when Benny with You Heard sees this, he's gonna go crazy. So Benny, thank you. I won the gentleman's bet on that one.
That's funny. Sergio, people forget Justin Scott was not only a 5-star player, he was a top 10 overall player in his entire class. That is correct, factually correct. A non-Miami podcast thinks he could be like Jalen Carter when he was in Georgia. I don't know if I would specifically say like Jalen Carter, because Jalen Carter was like just a ridiculous freak athlete for the defensive tackle position, like especially what he was doing out of high school. But I still think he could be really good. Like from a pass rushing standpoint, as a D tackle, like is very impressive from that standpoint. And I think his ability to play against the run has continued to improve year over year. Juan Manuel said, ACC disrespect will not be tolerated. Crap on the ACC, y'all. ACC champs was 8-5 and is a Blue Devil. What other blue hell is a Blue Devil? Jose said, Lightfoot was also able to hold the edge in the playoffs when he got his chances also. Yes, that is one thing I'll give Lightfoot credit as well, that I've mentioned this before on this show, actually. Like there was a few plays that stuck out, like between like especially beginning of the season against Notre Dame and then even in the playoffs, how he's been able to box out quarterbacks from creating more. Like, it's just the situational awareness to be able to do that, I think, has really stood out. And yeah, he's definitely for like his size and stature as a defensive end, he's not like one of the bigger defensive ends. He does play the run pretty well for his size. Money making Mitch, that back end on the defense will be stronger, and Teray does not get enough credit for what he brings. And as Gio said, those two in the middle are definitely the anchors and lifeblood of the defense. Absolutely, money making Mitch.
I think he was. I think Teray, like Beck, was hurt a lot last year. He was definitely. You can see at the end of the year coming on, and obviously that play he made basically saved the game for us.
You know what's funny? Ever since he made that hit over the middle on the Texas A&M receiver, it's like a light switched, and he played his best football when Miami was in the playoff. Because I know a lot of fans were up and down on him throughout the season last year. And I said, look, he's coming off the ACL, and it hasn't been that long. And for some guys, it takes a little bit longer. And he even mentioned it during the ACC kickoff. He said, look, I don't feel like I was playing up to the level I know I can until we got to the postseason. Like, he admitted it himself. So, look, I think another year with more health and time and everything, conditioning, we'll see. But I will say this, at least from one person at Miami, I spoke with him about Teray. This was last year before he really started to take off in the playoff. And there couldn't have been any more good words about him as a leader and what he brings to the defense. He's very much valued by the players in the locker room. 305 Sports Now. Mesidor and Bain were beasts for this team, but behind them are no slouches. I think the front four can be more dominant this year, even more than last year. With talent and depth, who can stop our front? I'm not ready to rush out to say more dominant, but I do think the production could be similar again. Just like with the group effort, I do think it can be done. 904 Hurricane, Moten is that guy. You feel me? If you have ever seen a Moten interview, then you should get the reference I just used. Yes, Ahmad Moten. I'll never forget, before he really became a star with Miami, actually, when I used to work at LifeWall way back, like, he was coming up in the elevator and we were speaking with him and whatnot. And like, at the time, he was just like this quiet kid. You could tell that like he was still like adjusting to things at Miami, but it's incredible how far he's come. Like, the whole development story, the two best development stories are him and Inez Cooper from that transition class that Mario Cristobal had only a week to recruit. Ralph 3986. Everybody sees the tight end situation as the key to a dominant offense, but I think it's the development of Josh Moore. I'm with you on the Josh Moore thing. I think
Josh Moore can be that guy. I mean, we're talking about Malachi. We're talking about Cooper Barkay. We're talking about Mark Fletcher. We're talking about all the other great athletes we have. But, Josh Moore has something that the other guys don't have.
Yeah. Which is the mixture between the strength, the size, the speed. I think if people are thinking that Josh Moore is just a big body, no, like, he has speed. He can get downfield.
Exactly. I mean, just want to see him go up there and take it away from people.
Keynes Jones said, I also love the 2027 class. They already have that culture of dominance, confidence, and competitiveness. Hence the reason Mario wants recruits to attend multiple practices and make sure they are ready for this type of atmosphere. Absolutely.
100%.
305 Sports Now. Moten and Scott will be the best duo in the country. If they're not the best, they'll be one of the best.
I second that.
Money making Mitch. Lightfoot will be very difficult to deal with. He absolutely moved people around, and he is heavier and jacked now. Yes. I do think this will be I do think Lightfoot can make another jump this year, especially with even more significant snaps. Jose Gonzalez, but the one guy I've always been pointing it out this entire offseason, but Armando Blunt is the one I've been watching very closely. I think he could turn into a serious NFL prospect this year. Jose Gonzalez, I'm still hoping that Sampson and McCoy swap places on the line. I think Sampson is just much more athletic and has a skill set more similar to CC. Yeah, but I've spoken with some people about it. Some people think that Sampson's more of a natural fit at guard, and some people, depending on who you speak to around the program, they think McCoy's more of a natural fit at tackle. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Money Making Mitch, side note, when are y'all getting the Mally Spray Ground backpacks in store or on your site? I have to get one.
Well, Money Making Mitch, it seems that has been such a the second Miss Toney went ahead and said that we will be getting them. The phone has literally rang nonstop. We finally put a voicemail in today after having 1,000 calls over 3 days, probably, basically telling it like it is. We are waiting for more word. A spray ground, we do have them on order. Spray ground has not shipped them yet. They said they're going to let us know soon when they're shipping. At that time, the best way is the app, to go on the app and download it now. I'm sure you already have it, Money Making Mitch, being a subscriber of ours. And download that app and go ahead and put it on the notifications. We will announce it on that. We'll keep you posted on that. Of course, we'll keep you posted on every podcast as well. We may go live with it when it comes out. We will give everybody a 24-hour notice, and then we're going to say, go at it. It will be some online, and there will be some store only, because we're trying to limit it to one per person, because there was such a demand for it. I really wish we had 50,000 of these things coming in. There is such huge demand. There's bigger demand than anything I've ever seen since I've been in the business.
Well, Brett, I think that says another thing too about the influence Malachi Toney has.
Oh, totally.
Because I was there at the store, multiple people popped in. Do you have the Malachi backpacks yet? Do you have the Malachi backpacks yet? A call every 3 minutes. You guys have the Malachi backpacks? I mean, Brett, you must have gotten like 3,000 calls at this point.
So the thing about it, when people say, do you have it? Did you get it in? If we got it in and we were selling it, it would be sold out. There's no doubt. So people say, oh, darn, you don't have it. Well, can I buy? If you were, you know what? If we did have it that day, it would have been sold out. It'll sell out in a day, is my opinion.
Let's see here. Possum said, how deep is the D line? How many players you think will be in the rotation at D tackle and defensive end? So, well, realistically, I think the guys, in my opinion, that you'll see playing at defensive end, Damian Wilson, Armando Blunt, Marquise Lightfoot, Hayden Lowe, Herbert Scroggins. I think Booker Pickett will be somewhere in that mix as well. D tackle wise, I think you'll see some type of mixture of like your starters being Justin Scott and Ahmad Moten, and backing them up, you'll see some mixture of Jarquez Carter. I think that's the first guy in. I was really impressed with what he showed in spring, and he's put on some size compared to when he was at Ohio State last year. I think you'll also see Keona Davis. Micah Newton's a guy who's put on some size from last year. I think he could help Miami this year in some spurts. And I think potentially one freshman could make a small little splash somewhere in some moments here or there. I'm looking at a guy like, can Kashawn Stansel put on enough sufficient playing weight in time for the year, because his skill set, I think, translates really well. He could help you in spurts, similar to like what Justin Scott did his freshman year, or Logan Nagel from a physicality standpoint could definitely play now. I think it's more just technique refinement with him. And then Isaac Shakora is the sleeper of that group of the D tackles, the younger D tackles, because of the pass rush ability that he has. A little smaller right now. He's still got to put on some size, but yeah. But I think those main first four that I mentioned for the D tackles. Juan Manuel said, did Miami's DT room get better in 26 than 25? Armando Blunt is 280. Keona Davis may turn out to be a star, and Jarquez Carter is a plug for the D line. Juan Manuel, I don't know why he said that part. That's why I didn't say that part. But yeah, Armando Blunt can also shift inside as well in NASCAR packages. I think Armando Blunt's really going to impress people this year, in my opinion. Keona Davis, high energy guy. He could even play some defensive end in some spurts if Miami really needed him to, but I don't think they're going to use him a lot there with how deep they are with the pass rushers right now. And Spencer Milewski said it's Phil Steele, Gio, curse you, Phil Steele. Yeah, so when we were talking about the O-line rankings earlier, it was ridiculous. Raymond said Phil Steele had lost his damn mind with his rankings. Yeah, Miami being 39 on the O-line rankings makes no sense when you consider the coaches. Bleed Orange and Green said Brett. Thank you for stopping by. Bleed Orange and Green. Right. By the way, Bleed Orange and Green, we absolutely love the videos that you share on X at times. You put some of the best videos.
Fantastic job.
904 Hurricane Gio. I can't help but think about how Miami should have won back-to-back natties in 2002. And if Miami wins the national championship this year, they possibly blew another back-to-back title in their place in history. It's crazy when you look back on it because you think back to 88 and 89. You think back to 86 and 87, those seasons as well. You mentioned, 2001, 2002, but what about 2000 and 2001? I think that 2000 team is one of the most talented that never won a title. Crazy to think back. Champ said, wish the defense had a little more true defensive tackles depth that didn't require tweezers to be out of position out of necessity. Keona Davis, etc. I think the extended season and the one portal window left us unbalanced on defense, heavy on corners, but lacking either in the middle, tweener positions. I could kind of see that. Maybe some guys a little under 300-pound range and whatnot, some of those guys. But I think Davis brings value and like versatility. I think he brings some upside as a pass rusher too. I think they'll be fine. I think they'll be fine because I do think defensive tackle-wise, they are deeper in that room than they were last year. Juan Manuel Mensah breaks Cam records, throws 4,700 yards, 48 touchdowns if you include ACC title game. Wow. I mean, if he has that type of season, we're talking about like Heisman Trophy type of stats right there.
I think he's going to have it. I think he's going to have a monster season, obviously.
Will said, laugh out loud at one. Yes, for all reasons mentioned, the D-line is better. 904 Hurricanes, several years since 1995. That's over 30 years. Will said, one, maybe yes or no. Cam had to score at will to win games. I don't think Mensah will have to do that. That is true, Will. I think the benefit Mensah will have is he's going to have a better defense than Cam Ward did. Phil Steele since 1995. Possum Jenkins said, to be fair to Phil Steele, he did say he himself believes Miami O-line will probably be a top 10 line by the end of the season, but the way he does his rankings, PT is part of it, and Miami has so many young. I hear you, Possum, but I just feel like even like I mentioned earlier, I get it if you don't want to put them top 5 or top 10, but I think top 15 or top 20 is a reasonable range too, in my opinion. Kyle CGA Gio, after spring, you feel better or worse about O-line than going into spring? I feel better. I feel better because of what Jackson Cantwell did. I feel better because of how quickly Ben Congdon caught on. I liked the development from Max Buchanan from last year to this year. And the other thing I'll mention as well, like I've said it quite a few times, just the rave reviews early on about a guy like Joel Irvin. So I think Miami has more pieces there than I initially thought pre-spring. 904 Hurricane. Everyone has different metrics. Mark Rogers had Phil Steele on his show, and he explained his reasoning. It's because one of his biggest metrics is returning production, which Miami doesn't have in the O-line. I hear you, but 3 of those guys that'll be starting this year that are projected starters, they played a lot of snaps for Miami over the last 2 years. So we'll see. And 2 of them were basically starters last year, McCoy and Okunlola. Spencer Milewski said, when did he say that Possum Jenkins, he is very defensive over his model most of the time? Juan Manuel said, Gio and Brett, there are 3 elephants in the room sleeping. Will Miami's D-line produce and be better in 26? We spoke about that. I think it could be more or less the same. I think they have the ability to do that. Will Mensah and offense surpass Cam Ward 24? Will Miami go 15-0? So 15-0 is a tall task. I am getting close to, like, we'll do a show like of official predictions, but if you ask me right now, I think Miami goes 11-1 in the regular season. I think that is doable, barring anything catastrophic. Mensah and offense surpassing Cam Ward's offense, we'll see. I think the possibility is there because I do think Mensa's receivers group is more talented top to bottom than the group that Cam had. Like Cam's group was top heavy. You had Restrepo, Jacoby George is really good too. Isaiah Horton. You also had Sam Brown whenever, he was a little inconsistent at times, some character things there and whatnot at times. But for the most part, and also Elijah Arroyo, which I think was a great factor in there too. So for the most part, I think top to bottom overall talent, this receiver room is better than that one, in my opinion. Not saying every guy is better than the top guys from that group, but top to bottom, this one's better, in my opinion. So I think the possibility is there. Again, it also depends on the flow of games, how things go throughout the season. So we'll see. Wayne said, for all your Canes needs, Caneswear is the spot. It absolutely is.
Thank you, Wayne.
Money making Mitch. Most of the disrespect is actually fear. Greatest fear in college football has always been the full return of the U. Yes, I think there are people afraid of that Miami may actually be back to being relevant again, like truly relevant. Juan Manuel said, hey, Armando Blunt at 280 and Hayden Lowe availability has a major difference for Miami dealing. They both can set the edge and defend the run. Yeah, we spoke about that. Spencer said, I've heard it's good, but how does the O-line's run blocking compare to previous years? I view Mark Fletcher maintaining playoff form as the key to the natty, but he needs the O-line to get him rolling. I'm with you on that, Spencer. I've shared this. I think this group could be better as a run blocking group from what I've seen. I don't think they'll duplicate the pass protection right out the gate as good as the group from last year. I think that'll take a little time, but I think they'll be fine in that aspect because of Mensa's ability to extend plays. Not that Mensa's the biggest scrambler, like going upfield, but he can extend plays. Howard Stern, Gio, out of the three new coaches that don't have much experience, which one you think is going to have the biggest adjustment? Even the tight end coach never coached tight end. Well, the thing is with a tight end coach, you have crossover training with Kevin Beard working with the tight ends as well, which happens at a lot of programs. So I like the emphasis that he's very big on the blocking aspect of things. I think people also forget there was one point in time Mario Cristobal was a tight end coach for Miami too. I think people forget that. So I think VD will be fine. I think Fabian Upshaw, young coach, but very well respected and revered in the NFL game. I think he'll have those guys teached up very well. All the running backs did a really good job in spring too. So I don't think there's any drop off there with the coaching aspect. And the other one you mentioned, the three new coaches. Who was the other? Oh my goodness, I'm like drawing a blank. Oh, Terry Jefferson. I think Terry Jefferson's a rock star. He worked hand in hand with Keontae Scott last year. He worked a lot with Zachariah Poyser when he was at Jacksonville State, who we brought here to play safety as well. So I think Terry Jefferson's worked with plenty of talents throughout time. I think it's more so just establishing his pipeline of players to the NFL, which I think can come in the upcoming years. So I don't think it's more so can he teach. I think it's just, again, he's just got to put those guys on paper to the NFL now because he could definitely recruit. He can absolutely recruit because Miami landed Dante Wright. No one expected that. Giovanni Foster, a lot of people are sleeping on Jordan Lyle this year. Agreed. I will be speaking about that soon on another show. Giovanni Foster said, I heard our running back coach loves big backs. Do you think Pringle can crack the rotation? I think Pringle will be in the mix, but put me in the camp that thinks I think Jordan Lyle bounces back this year. I think Mark is obviously going to be your big-time guy, but I think Jordan Lyle bounces back. I like what I've heard on Shamar Brown, that he's trimmed up a bit from last year, in hopes of getting more explosive. So I'm not saying Gerard Pringle is going to be phased out or anything. I think he's still going to be involved because versatility he has. He can catch the ball out of the backfield too, which I think is a big asset for running backs to have. I think it opens up things with the offense. So it'll be interesting how they handle the rotation behind Mark. But I do think –
yeah, sorry, go.
I think plenty of committee throughout the season, you ask me, just to keep Mark fresh for the later part of the season.
Well, I think that I think Pringle is understated, underrated. I mean, to me, when there was this special gear, he could hit those holes so fast. I thought he did phenomenal job with that. He did catch balls as well. But I think this is part of the reason why we need to blow teams out by early third quarter. So the guys that are starters should say, listen, we got to do it for our backups so they can get in the game. So you know what? If we're good enough to be far ahead of some games in the third quarter, if we're that good of a scoring team, the other guys will get a chance to play, and everybody will be happy.
Agreed. Juan Manuel, Miami's NASCAR package of Damon Wilson, Armando Blunt, Hayden Lowe, and Marcus Lightfoot may be outlawed by the NCAA. Money making match. Tight ends will eat well in this offense this year. It will be open a lot with all the wide receiver and running back attention. Hey, from your comments to football God's ears, we shall see.
And speaking of the NASCAR package, I heard Michael Jordan, who obviously has like the #1 team in racing now, and I heard he's trying to invest in that defensive line. So good point there.
Sergio said Malachi Toney needs 92 catches and 1,634 yards and 12 touchdowns to break Xavier's all-time records. Will he break all three before leaving Miami? As long as he doesn't have a significant injury along the way that he misses a whole bunch of games, I'm going to lean towards saying yes, that he will break all three of those records.
But you know what? If we don't win a championship in that time, unfortunately, it will be great to do that. We saw Duke Johnson break the rushing record, right? Heck, Brad Kaya broke the passing record.
Yeah,
it's scary to think. So I think, at this point in time, this team is so good and so built. I think it's the championship is the #1 thing on his mind, I'm sure, as well. But yes, he has a good opportunity, I think, if he's healthy, to break those records for sure. Heck, looking at those numbers, why can't he do that this year?
I think the yards one will be tough to do this year, but hey, he had over 100 catches last year. I don't think he gets close to 100 this year. I'm thinking more like 60 or 70 range for Malachi this year because of the ball being spread out. But hey, maybe the touchdowns one. We'll see. I think the reception. I think he breaks the receptions record early in his junior year, barring like no significant injury.
I mean, Devonta Smith, Alabama, I think they played Ohio State. Didn't he have like over 200 yards in the first half before he got hurt?
Yeah.
So that'd be a nice half every week.
Let's see. Juan Manuel said, so if Joel Irvin and Ben Congdon stand out, what do you do with Jaden Wilkerson? Jaden Wilkerson has done well with his development too. This is the thing is Miami's got some good young pieces to work with. So I'm curious who they may shift to guard, who they may keep at tackle. There's how would I say? Because bodies may not be the right word because some people will take bodies as, oh, there's just guys there. I think there's live bodies, like capable guys in that room that are young that Miami can get a little creative. Mullet TV, Duck is here, everybody. Thank you for stopping by. As always, Duck. Juan Manuel said Phil Steele, who's picked Miami 39. Phil Steele 39. We thank you for your motivation. Money making Mitch. Focus and discipline for every game and no looking ahead as far as the players and staff go. Agreed. Wayne said Muhammad Touré is going to hit someone so hard that he's going to give them Touré syndrome.
That is freaking funny.
Keynes Jones, dadgum, Brett. By the time you get to my comments, you've already answered my lead-in. Money making Mitch, come out and absolutely smash Stanford game 1. Agreed. Phil Steele is at 39. You can go pick your.
we need to do a screen list. No talking. Just go right to the comments one time and just see how that. Just to see. So we got to make Keynes Jones happier.
So Rock and Rant brings up a good point here. It's not completely true that everybody got grandfathered into the new 5-year rule. And the people who just graduated are suing to get the extra year because they didn't get the COVID year either. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, that was what they stated. That
they didn't get the COVID year. How long are we going to live with the? It's been 6 years now.
Yeah.
You're right. I think there's going to be. I think injuries. I think there will be. The fact that we're saying 5 years now, I think there'll be injury exceptions for 6.
Yeah,
my opinion.
Brooksville Kane said, Gio, I know everyone is picking SMU as the second best team in the ACC. I think SMU lost some pieces, to be honest. even though I think they'll still be very competitive. Am I crazy to think that Louisville and NC State are going to have good seasons and maybe great records? I think NC State could have a good season. They got some guys who left from Miami who went over there and everything. I think those guys will perform there. Louisville, I think, is a sleeper team. Absolutely. I think especially with the guys that they have on offense that they have with their personnel. So I'm with you on that. I think it's very tough to pick who could be that second best ACC team. I think there's a pool of about, you could say, 3 or 4 teams that could compete with that. Maybe it's Clemson. We'll see. But yeah. Rock and Rant, they came in after COVID, but the NCAA is too stupid to have grandfathered them in, so they're taking losses in court already. Yeesh. Canes Jones, Gio, that will be coming out of your check. Thanks for letting us know. So it was 9 hats, 12 Mally jerseys. Rock and Rant, Protect College Sports Act. We should hear what the amendments are possibly by tomorrow. But it's not looking good if Tommy Tuberville is telling his fellow Republicans to not vote for it. Wayne shared, I'm going to showcase my branded Speedo I got from the Canes show. Oh, my God.
Oh, that was the comment.
Oh, man. Yeesh. You're going to get me out of character here, Wayne. Phil Steele and Tom Lemming are Notre Dame fans. They keep adding Charles Jagasaw, who may not play football in 26, starting center, 6, starting coming back, ACL injury, left tackle, back, 5 stars, 0 snaps, right guard, now right tackle. Yeah, I hear you, Juan Manuel. Yeah, we'll see.
Charles Jagasaw, what a name.
Yeah, it's Notre Dame lineman. Rock and Rant said, hoping the cornerbacks and safeties are hitting the jugs machine like Malachi so they don't drop as many interceptions as they did last year. Spoke about that earlier, Rock and Rant. Absolutely. Brooksville Kane. Clemson getting 2 players nominated in the preseason rankings and Malachi not getting any recognition is just more proof of how obnoxious the all-Carolina Conference really is. We need out. I'm with you, Brooksville Kane. Big Ten, here we come. Nico Cooper. Who was the last 5-star QB to play in a national title game and win a national title? So having a 5-star QB doesn't equate to titles of any kind. Last 5-star QB, well, no. Julian Sand wasn't the starter for Ohio State the previous year. That was Will Howard because Julian Sand was sitting behind him. I think he actually brings up a good point. None of the quarterbacks last. Depending on, I know Carson Beck was a 5-star on one site when he was being recruited, but like back in high school when he was playing at Mandarin. But I don't think he was a consensus 5, though. That is a good thing. I got to come back to that and look that up for you, Nico. Rock and Rant said, who is your least favorite rival, and explain to me why it's not Notre Dame. If it's not, I hope everybody learned who might have not understood why you should hate Notre Dame on a special level. Yeah. I think Florida very close to Notre Dame. Maybe Ohio State along with them. Giovanni Foster, I think Jacobs in the slot is dangerous because he has that breakaway speed. Hey, we got a super chat. Money Making Mitch. We make it to the championship. Who do you think we play if you had to call it? Or who would you like to see us play, Gio and Brett? I'd like to see a Miami and Oregon national championship. I'd like to see a Miami-Ohio State national championship or a Miami-Ole Miss national championship. But I'm not sure what's going to happen with Ole Miss. We'll see if Pete Golding can keep things rocking there with Lane gone now. Yes, I know they made the playoff last year and all that, but again, whole new year now. Now he's officially really taking everything over. He's had to bring in new staff. So we'll see how Ole Miss holds up this year. But I think those 3 would be really intriguing matchups. I don't think Indiana gets back, though.
You know what I'd like to see us play in the national championship?
Indiana?
Anybody! I don't care who we're playing.
I think that's a good one, too.
And win, baby. Just win, like Al Davis said.
Yeah.
Thank you for the super chat, Money Big Mitch. He's not trying to bribe us, I hope. Somebody called up and was speaking to one of the young ladies at the front desk at Canesville and said, we'll give you $100 to put us on the list. Someone said, well, if they started at $1,000, we'll really have to think about it. Just kidding. I didn't say that. I didn't mean it.
Giovanni Foster. I think Jacobs in the slot is dangerous because he has that breakaway speed. Yeah, I'm just not sure if he's a natural fit for it, though, with Miami's offense. Juan Manuel, Notre Dame O-line sounds like Miami's center is the backup with six. Lambert is right now, right guard. Sounds familiar. Yeah, I'd have to look into that one. I'm going to look a little more at their line because I know they had a couple guys out, too, last year. Nico Cooper, Brett, nice polo. And is it on sale at the store or online?
It is both on the store and online. It's amazing. I think only $52. Coliseum. If this was one of the big brand, I mean, not big brand, the Coliseum is a big brand, but some of those designer brands, same exact thing, it'd be like $149. But it is at caneswear.com. It is at Caneswear, and it is on the app, which, like Gio said, even at that sale price, 10% off on the app until Sunday if you download the app. And if you want notifications, click those so you'll be notified of sales, promotions, things like the Mally bag and when they come out, etc. But yes, we do have them. Thank you very much for the compliment. I appreciate it.
Let's see here. Howard Stern, it seems like nobody wants to play center anymore, and it's such a coveted position. Very true. Rock and Rant, I legit couldn't believe that Malachi was not even on the incompetent ACC list. I thought maybe at first each team could only submit one, only to find out about Clemson. Reason enough to leave ACC. I agree with you, Rock and Rant. Big Ten, man. B Rabbit said Jacksonville's 904 and is Duval. Yeah, we said 504 earlier. Yeah, I totally mixed that up, B Rabbit. You're absolutely right. Jacksonville 904. Is it? Well, then is 504? Where's Tallahassee's 504? Right?
I don't think so. Isn't it 904?
I don't know. What is 504? I know I heard 504 before for something, but yeah, you're right. Jacksonville 904. Duval, yes, same area where Shaq Quarterman came out of. Carson Beck 904 as well, Jacksonville area. So Howard Stern at Rock. I heard they could only have one player per team on the ballot. Not sure how true it is. It's not true because Clemson had multiple actually.
But maybe it's one if you wear orange and green. It's two if you're from the Carolinas.
Kyle CGA says starting offensive line left to right and top three reserve line. So I'll say as of right now, like if it's like game one, I'll go with Cantwell, Okunlola, Rodriguez, Buchanan, McCoy, game one. And your top three reserves, I would say a grouping of like Jamal Merriweather, Ben Congdon, and either SJ. Yeah, you know, I'd say SJ. Yeah. Well, either SJ or Joel Irvin. Yeah, one of those guys.
That's right. Why didn't we say 904? That's good.
Rock and Rant, interesting, but then Clemson, Giovanni Foster. I think Mensa will unlock Josh Moore jump ball ability. Would be nice. Rock and Rant, on an 85-man or even 105-man roster, not everyone's going to be a star, but it doesn't mean that they don't matter in some other ways that we can't see that make them valuable. You're absolutely right, Rock and Rant.
100%.
You need guys for practice. You need guys for scout team. You got to fill out depth. Some guys are multiple years. Like you may have a really good player on your hands who needs like 2 years of development, maybe even 3 years of development.
See, what's taken for granted is the things that people don't see. For example, people don't notice. You get the snap, the punter, he kicks the ball. Nobody notices when everybody makes a block. But if one guy misses a block and they block the punt, let's say, and score a touchdown, and that possibly hurts your chance of winning national championship, you notice. But nobody notices if he makes the block. So the people, when we don't notice something and it's a good play, then everybody did their job. And a good play is getting the punt off. Not getting the punt off is a bad play. So we take for granted the unspectacular plays, but the unspectacular plays win games.
Yes, the routine ones.
You can rack that. Clip that. 655. Clip that 158.
Rock and Rant. Can you imagine being as incompetent as the ACC? Having the player on the cover of the EA college football game, not even on your ballot of 17 teams. Absolutely agreed, man.
That's a great point.
Mullet TV. Jordan was afraid to play football. Mute Brett. Howard Stern. I've been raving about West Boca. That program is just as good as St. Thomas. What are they going to be? Carroll City for the season opener watch. Yeah, West Boca has definitely been doing pretty well. I actually know two people that are coaching there now as well, actually. So they've been definitely getting some talent out that way. 305 Sports Now said, I totally agree with Mitch. Toney is a better football player than JJ. All-around player, absolutely. Howard Stern, Cooper Barcade is going to be our Hunter Renfro. He was huge for Clemson and beat Alabama in the national championship game. They couldn't stop him.
Howard Stern. No, but people are looking past Barcade at what he's going to do. And his guy runs routes. I mean, he catches everything. I think he's going to have a phenomenal year. I mean, I'm just rocking up. We got Malachi, we got Cooper, and we got Josh. Just pin them all up for 36 touchdowns between the three of them and 3,000 yards.
Howard Stern said, come on, man, nobody could touch JJ Toney, possibly be a better college player, but that's bad. Yeah, so Howard Stern, I'll say this on my take about that. I think Malachi's the better all-around player between those two, but I do think JJ is the better receiver prospect of the two. There can definitely, both things can be true.
Yeah, JJ is going to be the guy, I think. I mean, I want the Dolphins to have a good year, but I would, if they falter and get JJ, I would be quite happy.
I think many people will. I've seen so many social media posts saying tank for Jeremiah Smith.
Exactly.
Rock and Rent agree. Ohio State's Caleb Downs and Bain dropping were mind-boggling. Absolutely. Especially even I thought Downs was like a top 5 talent in the draft. Just to see him go where he did, I was kind of shocked by that.
Surprising, yes.
Spencer Maluski, I've seen more Adam Thielen comps from Barcade than Renfro. I could see some Adam Thielen, Eric Decker. I think those are reasonable comps for
Barcade. These guys have had good NFL careers. I think it's going to be I think if he's that good, I think he'll be happy. But I think he – I mean, do we hear a Steve Largent? Do we hear we'll see.
Steve Largent, that's old school.
Old school. That's why I threw it in there.
Didn't Steve Largent, he played for the Seahawks, right?
Yes, he did. And then he was I think he was either a senator or something like that afterwards. He at one time had the NFL record for receptions. Who used to throw him the ball? I think he had 2 quarterbacks. So the main quarterback, do you know who that was from Seattle? This is from their expansion years. By the way, for those of you that are paying attention, Seattle and Tampa Bay came into the league the same year, I'm pretty sure. And his quarterback was number 10, I'm pretty sure. Let's see if anyone knows before we check out, and then I'll say it at the end. He was a scrambler. He was like a Fran Tarkington, the quarterback. You looking it up, Gio?
Fran Tarkenton?
No, it wasn't Fran Tarkington. I'll just give it. It's Jim Zorn.
Jim Zorn. Huh. Let's see here. Juan Manuel said, Howard Stern, Cooper Barcade is more talented and skilled than Renfro. Take race out. Mark Barcade is a lot like Reggie Wayne.
Well, I agree. Yeah, that is a good point. That's a good point.
305 Sports Now. That's what I'm referring to. JJ is the better receiver, but Malley is the better all-around football player. JJ is top 5 pick as a receiver. Yes. Juan Manuel. Rock and Rant. With Caleb, his height wasn't an issue. I saw both Keontae Scott and Caleb Downs standing next to each other. Caleb is 5'10". Keontae Scott was taller. He is not the biggest. Yeah, but I think just the instincts that Caleb Downs plays with for the safety position and the way he tests, like his athletic profile, I thought it was a no-brainer, but it is what it is, man. Juan Manuel saw a kickoff coin toss of Ohio State, Miami. Kyle CGA. Armando Blunt will start at defensive end. Not enough people are talking about him. Kyle, I've been talking about Armando Blunt all off season, so I've been on that train for a while. Miami was 4-1 versus top 10 teams last season. Only team better was Indiana 5-0. Yeah. Hollywood Arsenal. Renfro can't be stopped in the NFL. Please don't say things like that. Juan Manuel said, did Miami get lucky like Randy Shannon with Donna Shalala lucky? Makes us look ridiculous. Howard Stern. Juan, you're comparing him to Reggie Wayne, a Hall of Famer. I'm not saying Hunter was so talented, but the dude was clutch and made big-time play in big-time games. Yep. Renfro's not more talented than Cooper Barcade. Spencer said, it's not a comp that should be made, period. Renfro is a slot, Barcade is a receiver. I think Spencer's right in that aspect that both do play different positions. Rock and Rant. People forget Keontae Scott was 715 in transfer portal. Teray was 921. Very true. I think Miami definitely got a lot of value in those pickups. Hey, even Jacoby Thomas, too. Jacoby Thomas wasn't highly rated in the portal. So I think Miami's evaluations definitely speak for itself. Shaboy Caden, when is the official day of fall practice? Also, do you expect everyone to participate the first day of fall practice? Moten, etc. Moten is cleared from what I understand. I don't think there should be any concern there from what I've heard. First day, I've heard it would either fall on, I think it's August 3rd or August 4th. One of those days, from what I've heard, would be the first day for fall camp. Howard Stern said he will be the safety blanket for our QB watch. Agreed, Howard, on Barquet. Miami 21 Hurricanes 29. Thank you for stopping by. We lost because of the interception machine Beck. Hey, look, in Carson Beck's defense, though, look, I get it. Some people had their views on him or whatnot, but I don't think I think Carson Beck also helped Miami along the way too.
Yes, I mean he had that great
the Ole Miss game, that drive. Look, you got to give him his credit. Did it end how everyone wanted it to? No, but look how far he went with Miami last year. You got to give the kid credit.
Yes.
And again, he may even start for the Arizona Cardinals this year. And he's admitted what some of us thought even back then, that the elbow wasn't 100%. At times it was messing with him throwing downfield more. Look, I think he did pretty damn good considering the circumstance.
We got to a national championship.
Yeah. Yeah, Brett, but you know how it is. It's never enough.
Oh, it is. No, but I understand. I mean, I was pissed at him when he threw the interceptions, the Louisville game. But the game before against Florida State, he had one of the greatest long passing games I've ever seen. Every pass was right there. And that game, we let Florida State back in the game. So you never know if he misses any of those passes.
One Manuel said, Howard Stern, factually, Reggie Wayne hasn't made it. I saw Reggie play his son. I still love him. Very much like Reggie Wayne. Wayne was a master technician. Yeah, but Reggie Wayne could also really run, too. From what I understand, Reggie Wayne clocked 4.4 at the combine when he was coming out of Miami. Not a lot of people were expecting that. He actually surprised people. That's how he snuck into the first round. Howard Stern, he will make it, but hey, if you could play like Reggie Wayne, I'm all for it. Miami 21 Hurricanes, I want to see our O-line become savages. I think so. I think the O-line takes on the mentality of their coach. Giovanni Foster said, hey, Gio, I think how's Chris Ewald looking out there and Ryan Mack? So Chris Ewald flashed quite a bit, I would say, last spring when he got some opportunities at the nickel. I'm not sure exactly where he fits into the picture this year, but he is a good player. I know they value him. I'm not sure maybe if his fit is better as a safety long term. I know there's been some discussion about that, or if he stays full time at corner. But depending on who you speak with involved with the program, there has been a consensus of sorts that he is a good player. So look, he's got some upperclassmen that he's competing with right now too. So it's kind of tough to break through that right now. Guys that are really good players. One Manuel said Wayne and Cooper Barquet size, and look at heights of Wayne and look at his number and his size. If he had 87 on you, would think it's Reggie Wayne. Miami 21 Hurricanes. Gio is going to replace Ryan Clark at ESPN. Well, I'll tell you this. I don't have interest for big corp anymore. I've worked with big corp stuff in the past. I like more of the independent stuff, the more homegrown stuff. So I don't have a lot of interest to like work for something like ESPN. I've kind of sort of already, maybe not ESPN, but other big ones in the past. I've kind of sort of already been there before. So it doesn't really intrigue me. But I hope they get a good replacement. I will say, though, I know there's probably some Miami fans, not saying you wish for a guy to get fired or anything, but I know because of some of the comments Ryan Clark had last year about Miami and NIL, I know there's some Miami fans that were probably cheering like, hey, he's gone.
It's funny. They let go of about $24 million in salaries today. And I saw a comment earlier. Stephen A. Smith makes 40 by himself. McAfee obviously makes that big money. So it's not only about the money. It's not, but like anything else, the guy that produces, the superstar in basketball or any sport is going to get the most money.
Yeah. Spencer Maluski said, I've seen multiple NFL analysts breakdowns of the 2027 wide receiver class. Barcade's consensus comp is Adam Thielen. I could see that. I think he's more athletic than Adam Thielen, though, and faster, too. Juan Manuel said, Howard, I don't see the Renfro comparison because Renfro's speed is not what Cooper Barcade has. Barcade can actually separate. Giovanni Foster, in my opinion, Booker Pickett is going to lead us in sacks. Wow. That's a bold prediction.
What about
I think it's Damon Wilson, but we'll see.
What about Lamar Thomas? He had the height on him, but Lamar was a great possession receiver for longer. I mean, he was obviously Reggie. It seemed like was less yards per catch than Lamar. But how do you think that comparison is?
What? Who to who?
Cooper and Lamar Thomas.
Cooper Barcade to Lamar Thomas?
Yes, the comparison, that type of receiver.
I think Lamar was a little more explosive, but I think just from like a pure technician standpoint, like route running and being able to understand, like to sit within the soft spots in the zone and everything against zone, I think Cooper Barcade has a great understanding of that. So I think they're two different types of receivers, I would say. Both great, but I think two different types. I think Lamar was a little more explosive, but I do think that Cooper is the more polished of those two receivers if you compare them, like being at Miami. And makes sense because Cooper is basically coming into his fifth year in college now, and he graduated from Harvard, finished up at Duke, came here. He's a really smart kid.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Hollywood Arsenal. If I see Lightfoot and Booker Pickett on the field versus Notre Dame, we will beat them by 10 or more. Our defensive speed versus Notre Dame will be the key. I'm with you. I don't think Notre Dame can match Miami team speed-wise. Jack Harrison. Halloween night, we enter Chapel Hill. We will face Bill Belichick and Bobby Petrino, plus ACC refs. Should we be worried? I don't think Bill Belichick has gotten the horses in the stable yet at North Carolina for it to be a game that I'm going to be tremendously worried about. But for some reason, Miami's always had a tough time in Chapel Hill. So let's see if the Miami Hurricanes, the version of the Miami Hurricanes under Mario Cristobal now, can buck that trend, because they've bucked a lot of trends in the past year and a half.
We know Miami has always gotten teams' best games. It's even going to be more now, because Miami went to the national championship last year, and they see what we're building. So every one of these teams, they circle something like the guy from Florida State, which team, Miami. Everyone is going to be circling the Miami game.
Yeah. Yeah, Miami's going to be everyone's Super Bowl now more than ever.
Yes.
So they got to, again, the question we've thought about recently is, how does Miami handle that you're expected to win all the time now?
Exactly.
And I think they'll handle that well.
Mario's greatest challenge.
Rock and Rant said, on to Ray, people forget that being ready to play is different than being back to yourself. Agreed. Look at how Fletcher was faster at the end, fully back. Mario brought Teray to media days for a reason. Absolutely. He's very well respected within that locker room, like I was saying. Juan Manuel, Mylan Paris can rival Moore for size and speed. Height-wise, yeah, he's taller than Moore. Like mass, though, he's not as built as Josh Moore yet, but speed, yeah, it's very much up there. Mylan Paris can really get rolling when he gets some steam going. Rock and Rant, nobody predicted Mesidor to be a first-rounder. More people are predicting Moton and Damon Wilson than people predicted Bain and Mesidor last year. Absolutely right. Let's see if they hold up those expectations. Juan Manuel, will Matthew McCoy hold off the young Bucks, Ben Congdon, Jaden Wilkerson, Joel Irvin for right tackle? It's great to know we have options. That's an interesting thing. McCoy is the projected guy there, but he's also had experience at guard. You also have Max Buchanan, who did a really good job at right guard in spring. So I think if you're looking at the line, I think the right side is still maybe a little in flux, that they'll experiment there in fall camp, see maybe what turns out to be their best five. But I do think if you're thinking about game one, going to Stanford and everything, it's probably Buchanan and McCoy. But I wouldn't be surprised for them to get creative of getting guys like Ben Congdon and and Joel Irvin involved, and even SJ Alfaituli, which they even did last year. Seeing them get creative, getting involved, getting those guys involved. We've seen it over the years. Like they would put Samson at tight end sometimes, Ryan Rodriguez at times. They do it with Matthew McCoy. They would put SJ in the backfield as a fullback and everything. I would not be shocked to see Miami get creative with that, getting 6, 7 offensive linemen on the field at the same time, especially with what they have. Some of these impressive young talents, absolutely. Rock and rant. 2000 was almost as bad as 2002 because the BCS computer screwed us when we actually beat Florida State, and they put little brother in ahead of us. Absolutely agreed. Canes Command Center, Max, thank you for stopping by. He said, yo,
Max.
Max, I saw it on the Caneswear app, the Canes Command Center. Absolutely amazing. I loved how seamless it was. It looks great, man. Steve Badanis, I hope I didn't butcher your last name, my friend. The 2000 Canes was actually my favorite team. Dan Morgan, Santana Moss, and Reggie Wayne are some of my all-timers. Yeah, it's one of the most talented that never won the title. It's crazy to think about.
Heck yeah, slip up against Washington in such a close game. I mean, when Clinton Portis was discovered, it was, when he came out, but just terrible that year. We would have destroyed Oklahoma.
Juan Manuel said, let's talk about Joe Irvin. Feels like a hidden Christmas present open in the summer. Absolutely. It's definitely a late Christmas present. He was banged up in the spring, so, it wasn't much to go off of. 305 Sports Now. Will, Juan, you have such a way with words, dude. Yes, he does, Will. Juan gets very creative. Sad 2000 team would have Josh Heupel in Oklahoma for the national title. Yeah. Steve Badanis. It's going to be interesting to see how the carries are split up. I agree. Hopefully we keep Fletcher healthy for the title run. Can Dawson get the ball in Pringle's hands in space? Steve, I think this is how I think they'll handle it. A committee approach throughout the season. They'll go with hot hands, like whoever's like really in the zone at that time. They'll lean towards. They'll mix it up a bit. I don't think they'll entirely lean on Fletcher during the season, but I think as the year wears on, they'll lean on him again. So they'll keep him fresh throughout the year. Howard Stern, rock and rant. We did get screwed badly by the BCS, but also, they love Bobby Bowden. They always wanted him above us in the championship game. True. Juan Manuel, when is Pringle going to get an NIL deal with Pringle chips? Damn it, Dawson. You keeping the kids' prospects down. Try a Pringle once. You start, you won't stop.
Love that.
Funny thing you mentioned that, Juan Manuel. I said this to some people when I worked at Life Wallet years ago when JoJo Trader was coming into Miami as a recruit. I said, hey, JoJo Trader, what if there was an NIL deal for him with Trader Joe's? Think about it.
I love that. We should come out with a Pringle shirt. It's little footballs coming out of the can or something like that.
Yeah, it would make sense. Juan Manuel said, Howard, that may be the only thing that made sense. Bobby was beloved. Rock and rant. I don't know that I think they'll be second or third best team when you have somebody like Dron Kulasakapolo, the QB from Cal. Maybe they're not a sleeper, but Cal is a dark horse. Yeah, I think the only thing with Cal is I think he needs a little bit better of a supporting cast. I think they're still kind of a year away from that. But I could definitely see them improving. I just don't know if good enough to be second best in ACC. But I love him as a quarterback talent. I think he's a future first rounder if he continues on the trajectory he's on. Rocket Rant, Brett, please don't start selling Canes branded Speedos. Byron Ross, Cam Newton, Juan Manuel. Brett, COVID is legit reason. Gio went through it last week. I don't think any holes around COVID. But Brett, you can sell male cane stocks. Oh man, quite the trolling in here. Byron Ross, Cam Newton, and Jameis Winston won a natty as 5-star QBs. Yes, you're correct.
Good point.
I gotta go down.
He just signed the multi-year contract. A few months ago, and they just let him go.
Yeah. Raymond said 504 is New Orleans. Okay. There you go. 850 is Tallahassee.
Tallahassee, exactly.
That was 850. Tyler Industries, thank you for stopping by. I would love to see Pringle more this year. I think you'll see him more naturally just by the prospects that he's probably going to be playing earlier in the year than he did last year. So naturally, he'll see more time on the field. Raymond Rodriguez, Gio, thinking about the 504 boys from back in the day. Yeah. Los Mark, thank you for stopping by. Use up in the chat. Money Making Mitch, do you project J.J. Dunnigan having a freshman star year? As long as he does not get injured, like perfect example. I expected Hayden Lowe to have a decent sized role in the rotation last year. He got hurt. Yes, I do think he could have a pretty sizable impact on the defense in the secondary this year. Juan Manuel, who did Clemson put for player of the year? So it was Will Stein, which was the defensive lineman. And oh my God, I forget the other kid. I got to pull up the list next to me, but it was the defensive lineman, Will Stein, and hold on. I know I have the list right here. Hold on, man. Let's see. All right, I got the list right here from the preseason ACC player of the year. So Clemson's two guys were no, not Will Stein, Will Helt. I was thinking of Will Stein from another team. Will Helt, the Clemson defensive end, Sammy Brown, the Clemson linebacker, Deuce Robinson, the Florida State receiver. Mind you, they had another receiver on here before Malachi Toney. They had Deuce Robinson. Yes, Deuce Robinson's really good for Florida State, but you can't convince me you're going to put him over Malachi Toney.
No way.
Isaac Brown, that's a good pick. C.J. Bailey, Mason Heinschel, Kevin Jennings, Steve Angeli from Syracuse, Cam Robinson, the Virginia linebacker, and Darian Mensah was on there as well. But still, how any other wide receiver gets on there before Toney, and the fact that Clemson has two guys and there's no Toney on there, ridiculous. But yeah, we spoke about that earlier. Just, I don't understand it. Byron Ross, relax. Jeremiah Smith's good, but I saw Randy Moss at Marshall. Yeah, Randy Moss is a ridiculous talent. KCG, Jameis Winston was a 5-star. Raymond Rodriguez said Moon. Dave Craig.
Jim Zorn from 76 to like the late 80s, and then 76 to like the mid 80s, and I think Craig was like the mid 80s to 89. So I think Zorn had him for a majority, but then Craig did have him for like 4 years. Both of them obviously combined for a great career with him.
Howard Stern shared. Mark Matthews and Elko definitely got something going on. Rocket Rant. I got nothing but love for Carson Beck. Just like Fletcher wasn't fully healed until more than a year after his injury, he did the best he could and gave us a memorable season. Kane forever. Agreed, Rocket Rant. And not only that, you're absolutely on point about the Fletcher injury. People forget the year prior, he had the Liz Frank injury, which was from the bowl game from his freshman year. He's never had a full off season up until like right before last year. And even the foot injury, that's a big deal. Most people weren't even expecting him to play much his sophomore year, the year prior, the Cam Ward year. So, yeah, it takes time. So, look, you're absolutely right. I think you're on to something.
That scramble for a touchdown on that winning drive.
Oh, yeah.
That alone, I mean, people think, oh, like so easy. Like, how many he saw it. I mean, I didn't see it as a fan on screen. The guy saw it and made a remarkable play. I mean, he obviously, but you know what? Sometimes people try to throw it, something happens, and we don't win that game. So that scramble alone for a touchdown, made Carson Beck, to me, very special that season.
So I wasn't rooting for him to get fired. Oh, he's talking about Ryan Clark. Juan Manuel said, Gio, double check Reggie Wayne 40 time. He hasn't been clocked officially faster than 4.58. Never heard anything other than Reggie plays faster than his 40 time. So here's the thing. I have it right here. Reggie Wayne recorded an official 40-yard dash time of 4.45 seconds at his 2001 NFL Combine. Despite this solid time, he was widely regarded in scouting circles for playing even faster than what he timed, making him a dominant route runner during his NFL career. Yeah, I mean, everyone also has different running gaits too. Guys could look super fast, but they're really running in quicksand, and guys could look like they have long strides, but they're zooming down the field. So,
The greatest
hey, Tommy
receiver.
Streeter was one of those type of guys. Tommy Streeter was really fast. It just didn't look that way when you watched it because he just had really long strides.
I mean, possibly the greatest receiver in Canes history, and then in NFL history for a receiver that played for us was Michael Irvin. I think he timed about 4.5 or 4.52 or something like that.
Yeah.
In the combine. So, and look, so obviously, but you never saw anybody catch Michael Irvin.
More super chats here. Money Making Inch said, Cooper Barkate, Renfro's hands with Tim Dwight's speed and movement. Hey, Tim Dwight, I like that.
Is that a second super chat?
Second, and then a third.
Wow.
2000. We would have destroyed Oklahoma that year. Absolutely agreed. Money Making Mitch, thank you for the super chat.
Thank you very much, Money Making Mitch.
Howard Stern said, Mohamed Touré. Juan Manuel said, is it illegal to play with 6 O linemen? Why not play with Ben Congdon at tight end full time? I mean, that's an interesting way to look at it, but I think you still want a receiving option there. But, yeah, look, I do expect Miami to get creative with some of those young offensive linemen. They'll figure it out how to get them on there on the field at times, especially down in the red zone. Absolutely. Howard Stern said, Touré is a true leader. I'm going to say this again. I'm going to say this until I see that his bad habits have changed. Only Mario can hold back this team, playing conservative, playing not to lose. I think, Howard, I understand what you're saying. I think some of those things were learned with SMU and the push between the rest of those games leading into the postseason and everything that it took to get to that point. I think certain things were learned along that path. Jack Harrison, 120. Any news on the backups in the linebacker room? We spoke about that earlier. A lot of that will still be figured out in fall, still competition going on there, but some guys you could point to early on, a guy like Cam Pruitt, who's been getting a lot of rave reviews in the offseason program. Kamal Bonner's healthy now, is in much better shape. And then you'll have some young guys competing like Kellen Wiley, Ezekiel Marcelin, who both made some steps in spring when Mario challenged some of the younger linebackers in the media. So we'll see. I think one of the most intriguing things, the true freshman that arrived for fall now, Carson Bush, from a physical standpoint, it would be one of the strongest guys in the linebacker room already as a true freshman, and just physically like he's looks the part already. He's like 6'2", 235 pounds. He's big. So if it can click early for him, hey, maybe he could make a splash. We'll see. Juan Manuel said, Will and Brett, you mean we could have replaced 87 with a lineman last year? Think moonshine is hell of a trip. And Money Making Mitch, if we won the Natty, that Beck scramble would have lived in infamy in the Hurricanes lore. Look, I'll say this, Money Making Mitch. I think it still will live in Hurricanes lore because that could be signified as like the beginning of, just a certain arc to the story of Miami's rise back.
I mean, getting to
they got to get it done.
I agree.
And Juan Manuel, you were the first comment of the night, and you are the last comment of the night. Will Cal's QB be our Mendoza of 2027 and our last portal QB? Well, basically the way Mario worded it, it sounded like either competition or the potential ability of Mensa coming back. But look, we'll see. I have shared on here before that I don't think, even before Mario said it, I said for months on here, even almost dating back to last year, I felt that the 2027 season would be the first one that I think there was a strong chance Miami would not turn to the portal for a quarterback again. That I think they would have enough guys in-house to feel confident enough to have a full-scale competition if needed. So we'll see. I don't think they go to a portal quarterback, but hey, there is that chance. There is that chance in the air that maybe Mensa comes back for a second year if he doesn't get a first-round grade. We don't know. A lot has to play out, so we'll see. with all that said, thank you everyone for stopping by. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, youtube.com/Caneswear. Download the Caneswear app. Take advantage of the 10% off, which is exclusive to the Caneswear app right now. You can find it on your Google Play Store, Apple App Store. Hey, you can get the branded Bill hats. We got a bunch of them in stock at the store right now. I know some people have ordered this one. I'm sure some people have ordered the one Brett has. I'm going to showcase some more as well in our upcoming shows. I got a whole stack of them that I went to go get today. But with all that said, as always, thank you everyone for the love and support. And Brett, any last thoughts?
I just want to say thank you to everyone that showed out. If you go, when you do the app, if you are interested in the drops of like the Malachi bag that everyone's calling about, make sure that is the first place to see it. Will be from the app. So make sure you click notifications on that. We will let people know on this channel as well. We'll be doing other things on this channel for products, for releases and launches and stuff like that. So like and subscribe. And that's about it. Great show. Thank you to everyone to turn out. Another great audience. I saw a lot of new commenters, a lot of regular commenters, a lot of new funny commenters like Wayne with his jokes there. So great stuff. Thank you. We've got the best fan base in the world. Thank you so much for being part of it.
Go Canes. We'll see you again soon.